Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 27th monthly TWitWoW Q&A. Do not fret, we aren't gone, we're not missing it, we aren't late, we're a whole minute late, so apologies for that, but it's nothing to have a fit over. We are here. We have 60 questions to ask, or to answer. You guys asked to answer here. John, how you feeling, brother?
Brother, I'm feeling good. It's Q&A time. 60 questions. We were talking about it before we went live. You guys always deliver, and I'm just ready to jump right into this, man. Let's do this.
Man, I don't know. I feel like normally we would be like, oh, let's get through a question a minute and we can get done with this by 8. But I don't think that's an option. And even if it was, we'd still go past 8 because we started late. Shame on us.
Exactly. But hey, man, better late than never, right?
Absolutely. And I think that as long as you're ready to go, I think we can get right on into these, starting with James's questions. That work for you?
That works just fine for me, my friend.
Yeah, I always make sure that James is first because he asks his questions before we even go off air from our previous Q&A. James's first question, though, was, what's the video game you've been wanting to play recently but haven't been able to play?
I'll give 2 answers to this. The Talos Principle, because I actually own it. I haven't touched it in weeks. Which is a shame because I was really getting into that game, and puzzle games usually aren't my thing. And most recently, I'm in the process of installing Mortal Kombat 10 Deluxe Edition. I have wanted that game for months, and I saw it was on a Steam sale for like under $10. So I can't wait to play that this weekend. It's going to be the highlight of my weekend, just getting a marathon through it, I'm sure. So yeah, those are my 2 answers. What about you, Ashton? Any games you've been itching to play that you haven't really had the time?
Yeah, I would say Ark Survival Evolved because I do own it on Steam. It's in my Steam library, but I don't have room on my hard drive for it because it's like 50 gigs and I only have like 100 free, and you're not supposed to fill an SSD up more than like 70% because you can fuck it up. So basically, I have to wait until I get a new hard drive to kind of be able to work with, my space on my SSD and kind of manage that so that I can actually play Ark. But I've been kind of getting the urge to play Ark a lot lately, so that's my answer. All right, now up next, our second question from James: what's your favorite historical period?
Same answer for me every time. The French Revolution combined with the Enlightenment period. It was one of the first.
What years, like decades, or whatever that was? What was that?
God, just for the sake of historical accuracy, because I don't want to like guesstimate, and then we contribute to the ignorance problem. So let me do that. But the reason why I say that every time is because that was one of the first historical periods I learned. And then the French Revolution lasted from 1789 until 1799. And, one of the reasons I say that is it was one of the first historical periods to really grab me. And honestly, more so the revolution part than the Enlightenment part when I was a kid. So maybe I was a revolutionary before I was a philosopher. But yeah, it was and the Enlightenment, at least from what I'm seeing, was the 18th century. So, and I guess it went from 1715 from what I'm seeing here to 1789. So they kind of just happened like adjacent to, like, one ended and another one began. Yeah, I loved it. I loved the ideas. I loved the break from the church. I think that was inspiring to me too, as it was like a whole new way of looking at the world because there was much religious domination in those times in Europe. And then this was like the advent of science and scientific reason. And philosophy as well, just different kinds of philosophy, because before it was very theologically based. And revolution, I mean, who doesn't love a good guillotine? So, my favorite historical periods right there. What about you, Ashton?
Yeah, I don't really have a good answer for this, so I guess I'll just go to kind of the default of where I think when I think of, like, if we can't have the sort of, post scarcity, like we always talk about the automated not communistic society that we talk about. I don't even remember what it's called exactly anymore. Fully automated luxury communism. I always kind of go back to, like, what period in the history of the US I wish the current state of the country could at least get close to replicating from an economical standpoint. I always go to the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and that was also when a lot of great music and art came out in the US as well. So I'll just go.
All right, man.
Time period between post-World War II U.S. and Reagan's election would be my time period.
There you go. All right, next question from James.
Third question from James: if you could solve one issue that the world is facing, what issue would that be?
Wealth inequality, because I feel like that's like a central issue where all other issues kind of arise because our world is so dominated by capital and who has financial means and who doesn't. So I think if you redress wealth inequality, which I'm not going to get into the know-how of how to do that because you just simply asked what issue would I fix, not how, you take care of a lot of other problems. So wealth inequality immediately for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm pretty much all on the same lines as you. I would just say financial. How do I put this? Financial motivation in politics. Like you and I are always talking. I think that taking money out of politics would fix most of the other problems we have in the world, and I think that would also go a long way towards solving the wealth inequality thing. So that would be my answer: is having financial motivation for politics would be gone.
Awesome. Next question.
Fourth and final question from James. What's up with Trump? Give your thoughts on Trump's September. I don't really know what he's referring to here, so I'm going to let you go first.
I mean, things have happened. Like he got laughed at by the UN. Obviously this Kavanaugh hearing going on, and he's standing behind Kavanaugh, which I'm not even going to begin to get into that. I do not have the energy for that. And really, it's just Trump being Trump. Like, what is there to say? He's a laughingstock. To me, he's really no different than most presidents, except he's more like transparent is the word I've always used with him. He's more transparent about what a politician actually is in contemporary America. And we're horrified by it, as we should be. It's just funny that our moral sensibilities are really kicking in now because he doesn't have the aesthetic or the presence of the political that we're used to. His month was just like any other month, and it's going to continue to be that way for as long as he's president, which I still believe in the midst of all this crap, he could be a 2-term president. So until I'm shown otherwise.
I just find it really odd that James asks, give your thoughts on Trump's September. And he asked that question on August 30th.
Yeah. Well, you know how he likes to get ahead of the game. So
no, yeah. I know, but it's like, how did he know what would happen in September with Trump? I don't get it. Whatever.
I think somebody's been bathing in some radioactive waste, my friend. That's probably a superpower.
Yet another answer though or yet another question I should say that I really don't have a good answer for because I don't really have any thoughts on Trump's September.
Yeah. So next question.
We've got 4 from Hypothesis. First up, if you could add more members to the Undisputed Era, who would they be? I'm going to go first on this one because I would add Donovan Dijak or Dominic Dijakovic, as he's going now, to the Undisputed Era as like their sort of bodyguard, their enforcer type. I think that would be a cool addition, but that really would be it. I don't want to get it too clustered.
Yeah, brother, I hate to like copy paste, but I feel like that's what I'm going to do here because I already like the stable as is. And I get very wary when you start adding members because I think you dilute the core of what makes a faction so great. But if you were going to make an addition, I think something along those lines, like a Donovan Dijakovic would be perfect. So I hate to be lazy, but that is the best answer to me because this is the best faction going, and you don't want to fuck up a good thing. So Donovan Dijakovic sounds good to me.
Second question from Hypothesis. If you were Triple H, which 3 countries would you establish an NXT in? And then he also said you can use the same answer if you both have one.
Definitely NXT Japan.
Yes, I would say just off the top of my head, I would say Japan, South Africa, and Brazil.
I'll say Japan. I like your answer about South Africa, but you know what? I know it's a continent, so that's not fair. What's a really popular country in Australia?
Australia is also a country.
So it's a continent and a country. So yes. I could say Australia. Okay. Then NXT Australia, NXT Japan. And honestly, for kind of my oddball answer, since they're trying so hard to make a market, just bring the market to them. NXT India. I would do that. I would see how that would work.
Just as far as to explaining my answers, I said Japan, South Africa, and Brazil. Reason being just global coverage. Because if you're in Australia or India, you can go to NXT Japan. It's it's a hell of a lot closer to go to NXT Japan than it would be to come to Florida and be in NXT in the US. So it's what would be the furthest thing away from Japan and and Florida? Well, my first answer that came to my mind was South Africa. And then just looking at kind of outliers, where else would be a good option. The first place that came to my mind was Brazil. Another good option though would be, and really I can't even say because they already have NXT UK, but I was even going to say it would be smart for them to establish a base up in the Nordic countries like Scotland, Finland, that kind of thing. But they already have NXT UK, so that works too. So yeah, um I think South Africa and Japan are like my two like top two like best options. And then my third choice would be I would say either Brazil or I would go with you and say Australia.
All right, man. Sounds great. Next question.
All right, third question from Hypothesis. Should Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee have the regions from other generations as DLC?
Ashton, you know how I am with Pokemon, so like you did with me with the Trump question, I'm just really going to let you have free reign with this.
I don't even have an opinion on this either, though. That's the thing. Like I don't plan on playing Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee because they aren't core games. I don't ever really play any Pokemon games that aren't part of the core series. And if it's like almost like it's like the way I saw it, it was almost like a hybrid between a core series game and Pokemon Go. So if that was the case, then I would say, yeah, that would be cool to have if they can fit it into a DLC. Yeah, do it, go for it, whatever, that works. Fourth and final question from Hypothesis, though. I really didn't even want to read this, give this the time of day, but I guess I will anyway. The red pill gives you Ligma and the blue pill gives you Sugma. What do you choose?
That totally goes over my head. I don't even know what that means.
It's a really, really shitty pun. Ligma. It doesn't matter what you pick because whatever you pick.
Okay.
You get
yeah.
it?
Yeah, I get it. We can move on.
Okay.
Oh, Jesus.
First question from Brandon. Is emo just a phase or a lifestyle?
This was just for me. I think it's just a phase, personally. Okay. You know, if it's a lifestyle for people and they're happy, great. But everybody I've known,
dude, that's the thing. If someone's going through that phase, I'm sure it's a lifestyle to them, but it's not
right.
It lasts super long most of the time.
Yeah, everybody I've known, it's just a phase, which isn't to say that the influence.
I don't think I've ever met any. I don't think I've ever seen or met an emo 45-year-old dude.
Yeah, like at most, I would say maybe some of the aesthetic influences, like music that's associated with quote unquote emo culture and stuff, that could stick. But just the whole like identity of emo as like a concept, I definitely think that's just a phase. So next question from Brandon.
I feel like emo is a thing that's like teenagers and maybe early 20s at the latest, and then people just kind of grow out of it.
Right.
Second question from Brandon Best. With Nakamura in WWE, who is the new king of strong style in New Japan? I'll answer that easily. Suzuki.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Minoru Suzuki for sure.
Third question from Brandon Best. What's your opinion on the newer wrestling style Daniel Bryan has been using lately?
I really like it. I'm just as into his matches as I've always been. He doesn't have to kill himself to entertain me. I think some of his best stuff with that new style honestly was when he was bullying the shit out of Big Cass. I want to see him bully more people, if anything. So yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I'm with you. The thing is, like, I think that this is sort of the best thing that you could say about him. I haven't really noticed that much of a new style. I've just been entertained by his matches. So I'm not like, I haven't been like, oh, wow, he's really wrestling different now. I just kind of watch the matches happen and enjoy them. And he still does like his signature spots. Like he still does, the knee to the outside and the running lariat in the ring and like the backflip off the ropes and the corner drop kick and the knee plug. Like he still does all of the same stuff. I guess he's just somehow wrestling differently otherwise. I don't know. I'm a little confused by that because I really haven't noticed a different style. Fourth and final question from Brandon, though, is just for me. Would you want to party with Naito or go scuba diving with Adam Cole Bay? So admittedly, as much as I would love to be in the presence of Adam Cole, the idea of scuba diving scares the shit out of me. So I would party with Naito and stay out of deep water.
Do you feel bad though that you're just leaving Adam Cole in the deep water by himself, or do you just?
I would invite him to the party with us. He could even wear the scuba gear to it if he wanted to.
Nice, that's so cool. All right, next question.
4 questions now from Super Blue. First up, how would you book Super Showdown? Instead of facing each other, who would you have Undertaker and Triple H face in singles competition?
Oh man, honestly, Undertaker, I'd have go against Demon Balor. Do the match in Australia. The crowd should be raucous for it. Triple H, that's a bit of a tougher one for me. Because I don't know. If I could make him a heel, maybe I would do like him versus, Shield's already tied up and stuff, and Drew McIntyre still heel. Oh, God, Drew McIntyre is a babyface against a heel Triple H. I I want that now all of a sudden.
Well, dude, Drew's already a heel and Triple H is already a face, so you could still do that.
Yeah, I mean, fuck that. Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, yeah, Drew, Triple H. It's a unique match on a card for a unique crowd. It's a great rub for Drew, and you know they'd make him look strong as fuck. So yeah, Demon Balor versus Undertaker, McIntyre versus Triple H. There you go.
Yeah. I would do Corbin versus Undertaker. Actually, you know what? I take that back. I would do Strowman versus Undertaker. Fuck yeah.
Oh, yeah, there you go. If you ever try and trick me again, I'll make sure you're never in this game again. Yeah.
I'm doing Strowman versus Undertaker, and then I am going to do Dean Ambrose versus Triple H to make up for the fucking travesty at Roadblock End of the Line.
There you go. I was thinking about Dean Ambrose versus Triple H, and I didn't pull the trigger, so I'm actually glad you did. That's really cool.
Yeah. All right. So up next, our second question from Super Blue: how do you feel about Crown Jewel and the 10-year? I think it was like multi-platform international partnership between WWE and the Saudi General Sports Authority.
Honestly, I'm going to keep this succinct. Like, obviously, I'm angry for the obvious reasons because you've pretty much fetishized the concept of like feminism and you've turned it into like a marketing tool, which I think we've said in past Q&As. And then you go and you work with a country whose, social values and stuff really aren't feminist in the slightest, and it's moving at a snail's pace. Like, I think recently it was that a woman could drive in a car by herself, I think was a victory. But like, again, it's moving at an agonizing pace. But they don't care about that because they're making all this money. And that governs everything. Like, what really is there to say? Like, I could come up here with all this moral outrage. It's not going to make a damn bit of difference when their pockets are fatter than they've ever been. So, I mean, not to disregard the question. Obviously, it's repugnant. It doesn't matter. So, what about you?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. I was literally like, if you didn't want to go first and you wanted me to say something first, I would have literally just said capitalist going to capitalist. Like, that's all that comes.
Yeah, really.
Like, they're motivated by finances, and that's the thing. Is like, I was reading a Reddit thread the other day about, and we'll get to this later too, about how the hurricane tweeted about, people that don't have experience doing what we do try and tell us what we're doing wrong and shit like that. And someone in the thread said, well, yeah, of course this is going to happen. There are people online that think that they can do what Vince does better than him. And the thing is, I think that what really is the problem there is a difference in motivation, because Vince is motivated strictly by the bottom line. Vince only cares about his shareholders, only cares about his stock price. That random dude on Reddit that thinks he can do a better job than Vince isn't saying he could do a better job than Vince at what Vince is trying to do. He's saying that he can do a better job than Vince at creating compelling stories, which most people probably could, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they would still be better than Vince at what Vince is trying to do. So that's the big dichotomy between the fans and Vince McMahon. Is the fans want compelling stories. Vince doesn't have to give a shit about your stories, because all he needs to do is keep on pumping on a product that people are willing to watch and keep on raking in these TV deals and just pumping in all of this profit into the machine. That's really all that he cares about. That's all he needs to care about. And that's why he's doing everything that he's doing. And that's why Crown Jewel is happening like 5 days after Evolution. And that's why we've got this big 10-year deal between Saudi General Sports Authority and WWE. Like, it's all financially motivated. And even though a lot of normal, regular people like us or me and John or you guys would be appalled that the WWE is so openly willing to compromise their morality for money, they don't see it as that. They just see it as, this is a business and we're not making decisions based on our personal view. We're making decisions based on what's best for our financial statement, our bottom line, our stockholders, our stock, that kind of stuff.
I mean, really, if you ask them, they're probably doing the most moral course of action, because I took business ethics in community college. And one business ethical theory from Milton Friedman is what's ethical in business is what's going to maximize the profits of your shareholders. Yeah. Think these shareholders are going to like bemoan making all this money from Saudi Arabia? So in WWE's mind, I guarantee you they work within a similar framework. They're probably thinking we are doing the most moral thing because these are the people we ultimately answer to. So, like you said, capitalist going capitalist. So next question.
Yeah. Third question from Super Blue. What does Kushida have to do for you guys to cheer him?
Not exist. Um, but no, in all seriousness, I would say just be less OP, like be more believable. Because I actually like his offense in parts. It's just again, it's the same problem as Pentagon. People that can really dish out pain and are very technically sound, I need to know that they're willing to take it just as much as they're capable and willing to give it.
Yeah, I
That's
think
what
that
I
really is the problem. If Kushida sold anything as well as Will Ospreay sells a lot of stuff, and maybe even better because even Ospreay does have a tendency to kind of sell something for a little bit and then just forget about it. I think it really does come down to Kushida just being unwilling to sell anything more than just a split second to just like flinch from the pain, and B, also there's a storytelling problem there because we've literally watched Kushida get misted by Bushi and then deliver a God's Last Gift package, like brainbuster, within seconds. Like he completely shrugged. He's literally like, if you go watch Wrestling Isn't Wrestling, the short film by Max Landis, the way that he describes John Cena is the way that I feel about Kushida. He completely just takes all of the stakes out of everything because he shrugs off beatdowns. He no sells everything. Nothing bothers him. He's just this impenetrable fortress. He's Superman, and it pisses me off.
I couldn't have said it better. Let's move on.
Fourth and final question from Super Blue. If WCW won the Monday Night Wars, would wrestling still be around today?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, the thing is, it depends on what you're defining as winning the Monday Night Wars, because they did win the Monday Night Wars for like a year and a half, but then they started losing. So if you mean if WCW had stayed in the lead as far as ratings go for their, throughout the late 90s and early 2000s, I don't think it would have changed anything. Like Vince would have had to buy them for more money than he did. Like it would have just cost him more. He still would have bought them. WWE still would be, because the thing is, like WCW wasn't sold because it failed. WCW was sold because Ted Turner and AOL, or really not even Ted Turner, AOL wanted nothing to do with wrestling. They wanted to get rid of it like at any cost. So really, if they would have maintained their lead in the ratings for the rest of their existence, they still would have been sold. It just would have been at a higher price point.
Yeah. I mean, so to me, even if you take winning to be WCW is the entity that still exists, WWE does not, which is how I interpret the question personally. There's always going to be wrestling. As long as there's somebody with enough money to even start up something, because I mean, you guys know about the local fed I used to go to, Force One, and as long as somebody has like a passion and a vision for wrestling, whether that vision is in accordance with us or not, is neither here nor there. There's always going to be wrestling. So yeah, I mean, granted, they're never going to be as big as the big juggernauts like WWE or like WCW was. But you didn't ask, like, is there wrestling as big as WWE or WCW? Is there just going to be wrestling, period? And to that, I say absolutely, there always will be. So,
Yeah.
next
Oh
question.
boy. So I just read this first question from Abel, and already I'm very, very tight butthole.
Aw, but it's Abel, though. How bad could it be? Let's see.
Well, John, because
Oh,
of the way you responded, I'm going to let you go first here.
no, I just read it. Oh, no.
First question from Abel: how would you improve gun laws to prevent mass shootings?
God damn it, we were on such a fucking roll. God damn it. Oh, okay. Let me preface this by saying that gun control is like the last fucking thing on my list. Unless when we talk about gun control, we talk about the military industrial complex and how police are armed to the teeth with military grade weapons. Gun control to me is top to bottom. Like you include police and military, not just the guy that feels like he needs an AR-15 or whatever in his home. Which that's what I think a lot of people's like affirmation of gun control really misses out on. Is like, well, who needs their guns controlled the most? Is my thing. So I'm not taking it off the table. It's just I'm very nuanced and specific about it. Obviously, I think it's a cultural thing. I actually just got done a paper with a friend of mine, and we talk about like the mass shooting statistics and the psychology of mass shooting. The majority of them are men, and the majority of them do it like you look at an Elliot Rodger because they think they should get laid, and when they can't get women, they're frustrated because we have a culture where men are like, oh, if I'm not getting laid, if I'm not dominating women, if I'm not being aggressive, that's the social capital of being a man. So I think we need to work on the culture and put forth alternative conceptions of masculinity that are positive and empowering, that don't come at the cost of dehumanizing other people. So it's a three-pronged approach. It's political with the gun control. And again, I have a very specific form of gun control. It's cultural because we have to look at the data for what it is. And we have to, do better by both women and men alike. Because also this masculinity doesn't allow them to talk about mental health. And then that's my third prong right there, is mental health care and actual access to mental health, and not only giving a shit about it when you don't want the other thing affected. That going back to gun control. Everybody should have access to quality medical care, even though I do stand by also, for the record, that people with mental health issues are more likely to be victims and recipients of violence than perpetrators of violence. If we just want to cover our bases so that they can't use the mental health narrative, just another reason for a healthcare for all model. So that's my three-pronged approach, and I'm going to stop right there because shit always happens, and I'm just going to hand it to Ashton to add whatever he wants to add.
Yeah. It's actually kind of funny because my opinion on gun control, it really barely exists. And most of the stuff that I agree with from other people on gun control is shit that comedians have said. And I'm not even joking about that. Like Jim Jeffries has said some really great shit about gun control. And then there have been other examples, but he's the first one that comes to my mind. But really, like, just trying to be logical about it. I think if you take automatic and semi-automatic and bump stocks out of the equation, you're talking about a lot less true mass shootings. Then, like, you would still have like school shooters and shit, but they wouldn't be killing dozens. They would be killing one or two or three and injuring a few before they got stopped, because it's a hell of a lot more difficult to kill by the dozen when you have to fucking shoot and reload than it is when you can just fucking pull the trigger and spray. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, yeah. And then the thing is, like, I feel like the most common argument against taking those things off the market is like, oh, criminals will find a way. Like, if someone wants a gun and they're willing to break the law, they'll find a way to get a gun. But the thing is, like, the price of a gun on the black market is a fuck ton of a lot more than the price that you can buy a gun at a gun store right now. So, if we're going to take them off the proper market and they end up on the black market, the price gets multiplied by like 10, 15, maybe more. And we're talking about making it a hell of a lot more difficult for people in that situation to be even able to afford an automatic weapon. So yeah, I think that really is like the best answer for me as far as right now goes. And I'm also very much for Medicare for all and having that also cover mental illness treatments as far as like therapy and psychiatrists and all that shit. So yeah, like those are kind of I guess you had a three-pronged approach. I had two. So there you go.
Let's move on.
Yeah. Second question from Abel. What is the best and worst topping for pizza?
For me, I guess for me, now that I'm on a more vegetarian approach, I really don't eat meat anymore. I would say like, garlic powder. I actually, no, that will just be my answer, because whether meat or not, I always love garlic powder on a pizza ever since I was a kid. It's just the perfect thing to add to a pizza.
You know what? I gotta try that. I've never had garlic powder on a pizza before.
To me, if you love garlic, you'll love garlic powder on pizza. And Abel also asked the worst, right?
Yeah.
Like, honestly, and this isn't a cop-out, I can't really speak to the worst topping because I've never really had a pizza with a topping that I didn't like. But if I had to pick, I guess I would say olives, because I've never really liked the taste of olives, and I do remember once having olives on a pizza, and that was probably the closest to like the worst pizza I've ever had. So garlic powder.
Oh, look, you even agree with Brandon. Brandon said jalapenos are the best, but then he said worst, black olives. There you go, dude.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, I'll go, olives for worst. What about you, Ashton?
I surprisingly, believe it or not, I would not have had a genuine answer for worst if you would have asked me this question like 3 months ago, but I now have an answer for worst. So for me, I'm a simple man. Best would just be pepperoni. I love pepperoni pizza. I don't really eat pepperoni pizza super often, but I normally just go for the plain. But if I have to pick a favorite topping, it's definitely pepperoni. But worst, far and away for me, is hamburger. It's awful. Just a couple months ago, I had pepperoni bacon hamburger pizza for the first time ever, and I couldn't get through more than a couple bites. And I just, knowing like what I was eating, I enjoyed the bacon and I know I like pepperoni. So the big problem was the hamburger for me. So I just can't do hamburger on pizza. It's awful to me.
All right. Well, next question.
It's like ground beef hamburger. Yeah. So third question from Abel. What TV show would you like to see brought back? Oh, this is a really difficult one because there's so many options.
Um, God, what was that one show that you and I watched that was like a sci-fi show?
Alphas.
Alphas. I'll say Alphas or Dirk Gently for my two answers. Then I'm just gonna let you go.
Oh, you know what? You could have alphas because I'm gonna take Dirk Gently. I missed
Okay, yeah.
that show. I love Dirk Gently.
Yeah, okay. That's fair.
And the thing is, like, the really shitty thing to me too is that like I felt like Dirk Gently was almost like starting to really like redeem Max Landis in the eyes of the masses because Max Landis was starting to get like a really bad reputation because of some of the products that he was putting out. And a lot of the shit that he was getting was for stuff that he had no control over. Like he got a lot of shit for Bright when most of the bad decisions in that movie were made by the director and not him. And that kind of stuff. And then like, of course, the shit hit the fan and the sexual harassment accusations came out and all that. But at the end of the day, like Dirk Gently is too good to me for them to throw it away for an accusation that probably wasn't even true, or even if it was true, it wasn't necessarily like something that God, this is hairy as hell for me to even dive into. But the accusation wasn't sexual harassment. The accusation was this dude treats women like shit. And even though that's a horrible thing, I first of all feel like the person in question had really turned the corner and really turned over a new leaf in the recent years leading up to the accusation and was a really different person when the accusation came out. And I felt like it was really unfair for them to go after him at that time. But I also feel like, given that there was no sexual harassment allegation or even accusation, I don't think it made any sense for them to cancel Dirk Gently based on what came out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. So I'm Alphas. You're Dirk Gently. Sounds good to me. Let's move on.
All right. So up next, our fourth and final question from Abel. Man, I feel like these guys are really punting their fourth questions. Why is TWitWoW the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans by wrestling fans on the web today?
Because I genuinely believe we offer the best wrestling analysis on the web, especially of Lucha Underground. I still think 4 seasons strong, we are the definitive Lucha Underground channel, on YouTube, and really I'd say on the internet, because I've even listened to podcasts outside of YouTube. I don't know. Maybe it's an egoism. You'd have every right to call it an egoism, but I really do think we offer a better analysis than anybody else. So, Ashton, do you have anything you'd want to add?
Dude, the thing is, we always have said that, and it's always been kind of like a tongue-in-cheek, like, in order to be the best, you've got to believe that you're the best first kind of thing.
Right.
But the scouring that we've done trying to find other places that cover wrestling, I'm starting to wonder if we really might be one of the best. And maybe, again, like you said, maybe that is an ego thing, but if I wasn't responsible for creating our content, I would probably be a fan of us.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Well said. Next question.
4 questions here from DBK. First up, if you come to the temple, what's the first thing on your mind that you're going to do?
Gawk at Johnny Mundo's abs until I get kicked out of the temple. No, I definitely want to talk to him and like get his autograph. Like meeting Johnny Mundo is the only thing on my mind. And then when that gets done, then enjoying the show. But if I know like I'm in his proximity and this is my only chance to get, it is a myopic tunnel vision kind of thing. I got to meet him, got to shake his hand, all that shit. So definitely meeting Johnny Mundo is the one thing on my mind. What about you, Ashton?
I want them to set up some pads so that I can dive off Cueto's roof.
Oh, dude, nice. I like that.
That's the first thing that comes to my mind is I really want to fly.
Yeah, there you go. I love it. All right, then.
Second question from DBK. What are the movie series or books that you love to watch / read without getting bored?
I hate to be that, because if I was a kid, I probably would have told you the Shadow Children series, which I know I've talked about on a previous Q&A, because that was some of the best young adult fiction I had ever read. When other kids were like reading Harry Potter and stuff, and I'm not saying that pejoratively, I'm just making a statement. I was going with the more like it was kind of had like a cult following, kind of popular. It wasn't like I don't think mainstream popular, at least to my knowledge. But it was such a great message about resisting totalitarianism, and like the government was really insidious that they created because having more than 2 children in a family was illegal, and every third or so child would be exterminated. So the stakes were high. It was great reading. I could probably go back now at the age I am because I was like 13, I think, when I started reading those books. I'm 26 now. I could probably still read those books and not get bored. And as far as movies, man, I have been due for a Whiplash rewatch, even though I know that's not a series. It's just a standalone film. What is a movie series I could watch?
I don't think he said movie series, did he?
Didn't he say series in his question? I can even look.
Oh yeah, he did. He did. What are the movies?
Probably the Planet of the Apes trilogy that we just got done watching. I think those films are so well done. Like, I know I've seen that first one like 3 times, and I love it each time. So I think I'll see the Planet of the Apes trilogy. So just want to give one for each. What about you, Ashton?
Well, I guess I'm a little more transparent on this because my answer is the same for both parts of this question, both the movie series and books. It would be Harry Potter because I haven't read a proper book in a while, but I do know that when I was in school, the only books that I read voluntarily without needing to read something to do a book report were the Harry Potter books. And now every year, at least once a year, I have to go back and rewatch the Harry Potter series from beginning to end, even though I'm not even that big of a fan of the first 2 movies.
Hey, man, I love it. So next question.
Third question, just for you. This is from DBK, just for you. What are games on the phone that you love to play?
The last time I was able to even game on my phone, because the phone I have now, I can't do that. And obviously you said phone, not tablet, so I'm not going to count that.
Well, no, tablet count. Well, yeah, tablet definitely counts. It's the same.
A tablet. Well, on a tablet, I've definitely gotten into a game like Scrabble, because I was on a bookworm kick, but you can only do bookworm on desktop as far as I can tell. So like Scrabble there. And then like the last phone game that I ever like used minutes to purchase was Tetris. Like Tetris is the perfect phone game if you've got nothing to do and you need time to kill. It's got that addictive quality where it's like, it's Tetris, but then you get in and like, yeah, fucking Tetris. So yeah, that's my answer to that.
All right, fourth and final question from DBK, just for me. What's your favorite football game you've ever witnessed? I think up until last year, my answer to that was the Minnesota-Baltimore game in the snow from, I think, like 2013, which was like the craziest last 2 minutes of football ever. But my new answer is actually Seattle, or not, it's not, I've said that backwards, Houston at Seattle from last year. It was Russell Wilson versus Deshaun Watson. And it was so much fun to watch. Just these 2 amazing, young, athletic, mobile quarterbacks dueling it out up in Seattle. It was a lot of fun. And I'm hoping that sometime, either this year or in the coming years, we can get another Patrick Mahomes versus Baker Mayfield classic. John, I know that you're not super into football, but I need you to just hear some numbers. Are you ready for this?
Sure, man.
The last time Baker Mayfield and Patrick Mahomes led teams faced off was in college football in 2016. And here were their passing stats. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield threw 36 passes, completed 27 of them, 545 passing yards, 7 touchdowns.
Damn.
Yeah, you said damn to that. Get ready for this. Patrick Mahomes threw 88 passes, completed 52 of them, 734 passing yards in one game.
Fuck me.
And 7 touchdowns himself. So
wow.
If we get another Mayfield Mahomes matchup that can live up to that, that will take over as my favorite football game of all time. But as of now, it's probably the Watson Wilson duel from last year.
Fair enough. All right, next question or set of questions.
All right. So yeah, that was the last question from DBK. So up next, we've got 4 from Races Fan Rocks. First up, from NXT TakeOver Respect to NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 4, which ones had the better hard rock / metal themes?
Oh God. So trying to visualize like all those takeovers.
Well, let me pull up an NXT TakeOver Wikipedia page.
Yeah, please do, because honestly, dude, I can't even remember most of the themes from these.
All right, so Respect. Okay, so it was Respect, then London, then Dallas. Oh, you know what? I'll tell you the name of the show, and I'll tell you the main event of the show to help kind of spark your memory. So Respect was main evented by the 30-minute Iron Woman match between Bayley and Sasha. London was Balor Joe. Dallas was Balor Joe. Takeover the End was Joe Balor again, only this was after Joe had beaten the Demon at a house show. Or actually, it wasn't even the Demon. This was after Joe had beaten Balor at a house show, and it was the Demon. And it was the Demon's first loss when Joe beat him in that steel cage match. Takeover Brooklyn 2, main evented by Joe Nakamura. Takeover Toronto, main evented by Nakamura, defending the title then at that point against Joe, because again, this was when they were changing titles on house shows a lot. Takeover San Antonio, main evented by Nakamura Rude. Takeover Orlando, main evented by Bobby Roode versus Shinsuke Nakamura. Takeover Chicago, the first one, main evented by the Triple Threat. Or no, this wasn't even the Triple Threat. This was Authors of Pain versus DIY. This was Ciampa's turn. Takeover 3 was Rude McIntyre. That was when McIntyre won the title. Takeover War Games was main evented by the first ever War Games match. Takeover Philadelphia was Almas Gargano. Takeover New Orleans was Gargano Ciampa unsanctioned match. Takeover Chicago 2 was Gargano Ciampa Chicago street fight. And then Takeover Brooklyn 4 was the most recent one, Ciampa Gargano last man standing.
But he asked about themes though, right? Like which
right, yeah. I mean, if you have one that sticks out in your mind that you remember specifically, say something. Otherwise, I have one.
What? There's a song I'm thinking of, but I want to know what Takeover it was on. Let me look it up real quick.
I'll tell you what. While you're looking that,
yeah, you give your answer while I'm looking up.
Yeah, so this is for both of us. I have an answer. Mine is Takeover London, and that actually had two amazing metal / rock-ish themes. One was metal, and that was Ace of Spades by Motorhead. That was great. And then the other one was more like a rock pop song, and that was Could Have Been Me by the Struts. I loved both those themes. And Takeover London is like one of those rare examples of a takeover that I wasn't really that into as far as the show itself goes, but the themes were amazing.
The only theme that I really, just from that list that I can recall just to save time, because I would kill so much time trying to remember, because you said Takeover San Antonio with Rude Nakamura was on the list, right?
Yes.
It would be Starset's song Monster. I fucking love that song when I first heard it. I still listen to it to this day. Actually made me a Starset fan. So yeah, I'm just going to go with that one.
Nice.
Did he also ask worst, or was it just best? Because
no, it was just best. It was just your favorite.
Okay. So we can move on to our next question.
Yeah, second question from Racist Fan Rocks. Would you guys watch a movie of nothing but nut shots, then someone laughing at them for no point at all? No.
I would. I guess, yeah, there we go. You said no, I said yes. We can move on.
Third question from Racist Fan Rocks. CCK, of course, if you're not familiar, John, CCK would be Travis Banks, Chris Brooks, and Kid Lycos. Versus Undisputed Era versus British Strong Style is a feud that lasts a year from the takeover before WrestleMania to the following takeover before WrestleMania, with the culmination being a triple threat between Pete Dunne, Travis Banks, and Adam Cole. How would you book it? Thing is, I think you just kind of booked it for us because you literally just told us what's going to happen.
Exactly. So there's really not much I can do. I mean, if you're asking how I would book the triple threat, I mean, I would try and make each guy look as great as possible, but I think Pete Dunne ultimately come away with the victory. I mean, the dude's legit as hell. And being
naturally, I would ask Adam Cole if he was willing to lose beforehand, because if not, then of course he has to win.
Who controls the pencil? You or Adam Cole?
I do, but when it comes to Adam Cole matches, I forfeit all power to him.
Don't make him a Hogan. That's horrible.
Better than Hogan. He's not volunteering. He's just being given.
Oh, my God. All right.
He's not demanding the power of the pencil. He's just earned it.
How? By being Adam Cole?
By existing, of course.
Oh, you know what? You're impossible. You are impossible. So yeah, Pete Dunne goes over for me. Ashton, I don't know. He goes through this red tape with Adam Cole, and I guess Adam Cole goes over. So next question.
I mean, yeah, most likely. Because I mean, even if he was just like, yeah, sure, one of the other guys can go over, I'd probably fight him about it and want him to win.
Oh my God. Enough. Let's move on.
The fourth and final thing from Racist Fan Rocks. And by the way, you had him on here as Alex Cage because that's his Twitter name, and he actually changed his fourth question. So his new fourth question: predict Progress Chapter 76. And I actually kind of like this because you and I are going to be live reacting to Progress Chapter 76 now due to a request from, I believe, Javaris.
All right, so if you could pull the card up, then yeah, we'll just do a mini preview and predictions, I guess.
Progress Chapter 76. Hello, Wembley is the name of the card, or the name of the chapter. All right, let me go into the wrestling spoilers tab on TWitWoW's Discord because that has the card pulled up. Here we go. Got it. Okay, so we've got, I'm going to see if I can go in order from least exciting to most exciting, but it's going to be really difficult because most of these are pretty damn exciting. All right, so let's start with the Progress Atlas World Championship. Doug Williams, the current Atlas champion, defending against Trent Seven.
You know what? I'm going to go with Doug Williams to retain.
I'm going to agree with you there. Eddie Dennis versus Mark Andrews, tables, ladders, and chairs.
Oh shit! I know it got that personal. Who's the heel here? Is there a heel?
I don't know. It looks like just based on the graphic, I'm guessing Eddie Dennis.
I'll go Dennis to win. No, Mark Andrews. It's table.
Yeah, you were about to make a serious mistake there. Yeah, I'm gonna go Andrews as well.
Yeah, watch though. Watch Dennis win, and then I'll be like, serious mistake, huh? But next.
Mark Haskins versus Matt Riddle.
I don't give a shit. Mark Haskins. He's my boy. So I gotta stick by him here.
Pete Dunne versus Ilja Dragunov.
Well, you didn't pick the one between Haskins and Riddle. Do you just agree with me that Haskins?
Oh no, I'm going with Riddle for that actually, yeah.
Okay, so then now repeat this match.
Or no, you know what? Riddle's going to NXT, so I'll go with Haskins there too. Pete Dunne versus Ilja Dragunov.
Pete Dunne, he's a fucking unstoppable right now.
Yeah, I'll go with that too. Paul Robinson versus Jimmy Havoc, no DQ grudge match.
I don't know if they've touched since the no DQ match where Paul Robinson won, but if not, Jimmy Havoc, I think, is getting his win back. And if so, I think I'll still go with Jimmy Havoc. So Jimmy Havoc.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Havoc as well. All right, we've got 3 matches left. We've got the world title, the women's title, and an 8-team tag team championship Thunder Bastard.
What? We'll
do that one first. We'll do that one first. So the teams, and a lot of these teams, I don't even know who they are. So I apologize ahead of time. So the 198, I'm sure someone in chat's going to help us out because I don't know these teams. I don't know who the 198 are. It looks like Mills and Mayhew is a team. I don't know who they are. I don't know who the Anti-Fun Police are. I don't know who Aussie Open is. Sexy Star, which is not actually who you think it is. It's I don't recognize one guy in here, but then the other guy is David Starr, who we do know from PWG. One of the teams in here is Chris Brooks with Timothy Thatcher, so that's interesting. Grizzled Young Veterans, which is
Zach
Gibson teaming up with, I forget the guy's name, but I think it's got Drake in it. Flamita and Bandito is the only other team in here. So I'm going to let you, I mean, I think it looks like Flamita and Bandito are the champions right now. I'm going to pick them to just retain because I don't fucking know.
Because Zach Gibson is Bay, I'm going to say Grizzled Young Vets. So to regain the tag titles. Because I know they're former Progress tag champions. I'm going to go with them to regain the tag titles.
Okay. Yeah, that works. We'll do the women's title next. Toni Storm versus Ginny versus Millie McKenzie. Triple threat.
Oh, yes, queen. I'm going Ginny to retain, baby. Fuck Toni Storm and Millie McKenzie. I said it.
Not quite as, angry at the other two, but I will also pick Ginny to retain. Although, be on the lookout for Millie McKenzie here. She might pick up an upset.
Yeah, upset my ass.
And what I'm guessing will main event this show, Walter defending the Progress World title. Do you want to guess his opponent?
I can't think of it, man. Who is it?
Tyler Bate.
What? Walter's facing Tyler? Oh, yep. God. Because because Progress has a working relationship with WWE, so Tyler could feasibly.
Yeah, I'm still though. I'm gonna pick Walter to retain here.
I'm gonna pick Walter, but I'm so excited Tyler's getting that kind of opportunity. That's so fucking cool. He's 21 and he's getting to be in a main event of a Progress card that's stacked. Oh,
dude, I feel like this show's gonna be like 4 hours long. Jesus Christ.
You know what though? I hope I don't even feel the time like on us because that just seems like such a fun card. So yeah, let's get it. That's awesome.
All right, dude. So I guess that we can move on to our next question then. That question being our first question from Rotten Butter, which is the traditional first question from Rotten Butter. Cool shit that you've watched, listened to, read, whatever for the last month.
Well, I just discovered a new band today that I think I'm gonna like. They're called Voodoo Diamonds.
Ooh, that sounds familiar. I feel like I might have heard stuff from them before.
Yeah, Montage Rock. You finally gave me a winner after a little while. And I've heard some other cool groups too, although I don't really know if I like their albums per se, or if this is more just, wow, this artist has a really cool song. Because like another group I discovered was called Pyrotechnica. They have a really cool sound to me. They've got a female lead vocalist, and I always have fun with those. I just love the sound. So that's kind of it on the music front. Obviously, on the gaming front, I got Mortal Kombat 10 today. Oh, I'm so excited. But I haven't played it yet, so that'll probably be for October Q&A. I'll just be telling you that I played a shit ton of that. Me and the family, we got a new TV after our old one pretty much, popped and just broke down. So we're continuing My Hero Academia. We're also watching this new kind of putter show while we eat called Magic for Humans. And that's a really cool show. Oh, the latest season of BoJack Horseman. Oh, God. Free Churro was the best episode, and I love the show so much. And Will Arnett needs all the Emmys. I don't even know why the show happened. Just give him everything. Really can't wait to hear if a 6th season has been confirmed or not. Netflix better confirm it. I will fucking find you, Netflix. I know you and I did the season 22 premiere of South Park last night, and man, they are as strong as ever.
Yes.
One of the best season openers in a while. Oh my God, I was here for all of it. So that was great. What else are me and the family watching? There's this weird show we're watching called Kiss Me First. I'll be honest, I kind of zone out on that show. But it's got a lot of like what the fuck elements. I wouldn't even know how to begin to describe it to you guys. Still playing 2K16, while listening to podcasts. We're obviously actually playing a lot of Rocket League, you and I. We're getting through The Magicians. We're gonna start the 3rd season soon. Oh my God. And yeah, I think I'm gonna stop. Like, I know there's like more stuff, but I really can't think of like anything off the top of my head, like beyond all that stuff. So I think I'm just gonna hand it over to Ashton to fill in any gaps.
I have no gaps to fill, brother. I've done literally nothing that you didn't already mention, aside from maybe like occasionally pulling up Brawlhalla to play for a little. I pulled up Terraria to play for maybe like 20 minutes and got stuck, so I closed it out. I've been playing a little bit more modded Minecraft lately, and really, as far as that goes, I'm just playing FTB Infinity Evolved Skyblock, which most of you don't even know what the hell I'm talking about, so I'm not even going to talk about that. Really, most of my time has just been dedicated to football over the last month. Watching games and researching statistics and typing up spreadsheets and all that fun stuff. So, any kind of content that I've been absorbing is mostly with John.
All right. So next question from Rotten Butter.
Second question: what is your time killer phone game of choice, if any?
I really don't have any for phone. And again, on the tablet, I would say, again, it's either like a Scrabble thing that I downloaded or Yahtzee, honestly, because there's an online version that I like to play against the computer. So those will be my 2 answers. You, Ashton?
Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't I pull up my phone and I'll pull up my my games folder on my phone, because of course I have a fucking games folder because I'm just that square.
Oh, wow. You know what? You did it for me, so that's good.
The ones that I play most often, 2048 when I'm bored and don't feel like I have a ton of time to burn, but just don't want to sit there and do nothing. Bricks Breaker Puzzle is definitely the one that I've been playing most often because I'm stuck as fuck in that game, to the point that like I spent months trying to get past one puzzle, and once I finally got through it, now I've been stuck on the following puzzle since then. I'm also a Tetris boy like John. And the only other game, I've also been playing Golden Sun. I have an emulator on my phone and I play Golden Sun on that. And then the only other real game on here that I play with any level of frequency is called Ring Defense, which is like a tower defense game with rings. It's fun. So
All
that's
right, man.
all right. And of course, Mark has 2048 because we math nerds need to stick together. God damn it.
Yeah, I love it. So good.
Third question from Rotten Butter. What wrestler do you think you would have the easiest time becoming friends with?
What wrestler? I feel like me and William Regal would get along really well. You know, he just seems like a really chill dude that loves telling like road stories, and I'd be here for all of it. So I'll say Regal. Brian also has a very natural likability to him too. So I'll say William Regal and Daniel Bryan. Again, I'll keep my answers more succinct for this round of questions. So I'll just leave it at those two. What about you, Ashton?
You know, it's weird because when I think about all of the male options, I have a much harder time coming up with a real answer. I think the easiest answer for me would probably just be Ruby Riott. I think she and I would get along swimmingly.
Awesome.
So fourth and final question from Rotten Butter, and I actually don't know what this is a reference to, but he said, "What is a man?"
I don't know what it's a reference to either. I don't even know how to approach that, honestly.
A man is a hairless ape with advanced intelligence.
I'll give the Plato answer because it makes me chuckle because it's part of a larger joke. I'll say man is a featherless biped. And we can move on, I guess, from that.
All right. We've got 3 questions from Golden Elite. First up, since Ciampa is sort of teasing a faction, what if Fabian Eichner, a repackaged Tino Sabatelli, and a female join him to form a new group called the SSS, or the Sicilian Psycho Squad?
You know what? The cynicism in me would say, you know, fuck Sabatelli and whatever, but you put, like, I could tell, like, you put some thought into that. I like that.
And hell, Sabatelli wasn't the one that injured Hideo. It was his green-ass partner.
Yeah, fucking Riddick Moss. Yeah, Green is fucking Moss.
Dude, every time I think of his name, I want to call him Riddick Green.
Yeah. I really like that. I especially like that you thought to include Eichner because I actually really like Fabian Eichner. So yeah, I'm cool with that, man. Who asked this? You said Golden Elite?
Yeah.
I give this an A. So if you're listening to this, good job.
All right, second question from Golden Elite. Wow. Oh, yeah. You gave the last one an A. I don't think you're going to like this one.
Oh, God.
Are Adam Cole, Ricochet, and Keith Lee so highly praised? All he sees, and he being Golden Elite here, are an HBK rip or another HBK ripoff, another generic high flyer, and another generic athletic black guy. What is so special about these guys?
You know, actually, you kind of want to share this because I feel like you'd give a better defense of Adam Cole than me, and I'm really getting tired of hearing like the HBK ripoff.
Dude, no, I can't because any answer that I give for defending Adam Cole would just come off as super insincere because of the way I am with him.
To me, okay, how do I approach this? Keith Lee to me is not just another generic athletic black guy because I think of all the ones we've seen, and I'd like to know like what set for Golden Elite that includes. Like, do you have Kofi?
Yeah, because like really the only other guy that you could claim is this like generic athletic big black guy would be the Mac, and you and I also think the Mac is amazing and really fun to watch. So I don't think that's like if those two guys are your definition of generic, and you don't like them because of that, then that just means that you and we have different tastes because we love those guys because we enjoy watching these large, massive human beings be capable of doing little guy stuff. It's not a common thing.
Yeah, like Ash,
I almost think wrestling fans have gotten desensitized to that because the ones that can do it always get spotlighted. So it's like we're under the impression that everyone can do it when that's just not the case.
I think honestly you gave the best answer. It's almost pointless to answer this question because we're going by subjective metrics.
Right.
So really by me answering this question.
The one thing I will say though is Ricochet. I'll go out of my way to defend Ricochet, and really this I think is more because I can be objective with Ricochet because I've been on the he sucks, he's overrated side because of, you know, personal bias because I wanted to not like him for a long time because of the shit that he was saying about Lucha Underground. But at the end of the day, like this is not just another generic high flyer. Like Kalisto is a generic high flyer. fucking, you know, all three of the guys really in the Lucha House Party, you can say, and I would argue that Grand Metalik is a little better than generic, but you know, there are a lot of guys that qualify as generic high flyers, and Ricochet, I think, is too exceptional to be qualified as generic anything. I think Ricochet is such a ridiculously freakish athlete that the one of the biggest problems that he has had in NXT so far was making things look difficult, because he's so good at everything and everything comes so naturally to him that he makes everything look easy. And he has to, in order to tell a more compelling story, he has to make things that are easy to him look difficult. Like, if that's your challenge, you're fucking amazing.
Yeah. I agree with your assessment wholeheartedly. I will say, like, again, I always feel this question's kind of like difficult because it's not really me convincing you like why you should. It's more me telling you, because it is a subjective thing, why I like them. It's not like we're debating.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's why I didn't want to say anything about Cole.
Right.
Like, my shtick is that I love Adam Cole. So for me to go to bat for him, you know, that's like
me going to bat for him though, because I really am getting tired.
That would be like someone asking what's so great about Johnny Mundo and you going off on them.
Right. For me to come to bat for Adam Cole, which, I mean, get out your cell phones, folks, and get this moment for posterity, I guess, is, you know, because I really do kind of groan with the whole HBK ripoff thing, because to me, you know, in the ring, is Adam Cole as good as Shawn Michaels? Again, that's a subjective thing. I'm inclined.
That's the thing, is it's all subjective, because I know there are people out here that would say, oh, Adam Cole sucks in the ring. And then I know that there are other people that would say, oh, Adam Cole's better than Shawn Michaels in the ring. Like, it all comes down to personal taste.
I feel like Adam Cole, what makes him so impressive is he has been able to be charismatic and entertaining in a climate where I don't know if HBK could. I mean, look, HBK to me was at his most successful when he had that bite and that grit in his promos, because it was the Attitude Era and you could be explicit and stuff like that. You can't do that anymore. And when Shawn Michaels tries to do the stuff that I think would be more acceptable today, he's so corny and so false. Whereas Adam Cole has this like electricity and this magnetism to him that he doesn't have to swear. Wow. He doesn't have to make sexual innuendo. He doesn't have to like resort to any of those cheap tricks to forge a connection, because he's just got, I mean, and it's always proven when other people say it, right? You can't say it about yourself, Ziggler, but I think you can say it about other people. To me, Adam Cole has that it factor. And I don't think Shawn Michaels, I think his it factor is very context dependent. It's very environmentally dependent.
I think my biggest thing with Adam Cole, trying to be as sincere as possible, I think he is one of the best mic workers to come out of the indies in a long time. And I also think that even though there's no really like one specific thing that he does in the ring better than anyone else, the way that we can say like Ricochet is more athletic than everyone else and Keith Lee is more athletic relative to his size than anyone else, I don't think that Adam Cole really has that one trait in the ring, but I think that Adam Cole kind of almost has that Ishii factor where you just watch his matches and you don't even realize it, but within a few minutes of one of his matches, you're invested.
Absolutely. And yeah, that's all I can really say about all that. And again, with Keith Lee, I think he's charismatic as fuck. With Ricochet, I still think the promos are weakness, but Ashton gave the best defense as far as like the in-ring and how he differentiates himself from other high flyers. So I'm ready to move on from this question personally.
Yeah, like I'm sorry, but you don't have to like Ricochet. You don't have to like any of these guys, but to say that they're just another generic whatever, I think isn't doing them justice. And especially when it comes to Ricochet, he's the one that I will go to bat for more than anyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, third and final question from Golden Elite. This is a longer one, so rather than copying and pasting the entire question into the spreadsheet or into the Google Doc, I literally just pasted a link to a screenshot that I took of it. He just asked this very recently. Jake Strong hasn't gotten any cinematics, and he no-sells a lot because he is the Order's agent, sent by the Lord himself and used to destroy the competition in the temple in order to get the main title to the Order for more power. Think about it. He no-sells because he is a god like Matanza. He's a giant and looks like a killer, which fits the whole god theory. And he was in a suit when he delivered that interview for Lucha Underground's YouTube channel. which fits because the Order are a bunch of wealthy men who dress professionally. What are your thoughts on this theory?
It's about as good as anything Lucha Underground's shown us currently.
Yeah, like to me, that's the closest thing Lucha Underground is going to come to redeeming Jake Strong as a push.
Yeah, if that is actually correct, then consider me at least mildly interested, and only mildly because really, Jack Swagger's your right hand. I'm sorry, Jake Strong.
Yeah, and that's the problem is that like even if that's where they go with this, you really chose that guy to give that position to, like of all things.
Yeah, I don't know. There's and it's
like I almost would have preferred them to switch him for Killer Cross, like put Killer Cross in the monster no cell gimmick and let fucking Jack Swagger be the White Rabbit. You know what I mean?
Dude, it's almost tragically comic that in a universe with like dragons and time travelers, I have no qualms believing any of that, but the idea that you choose Jake Strong as a right-hand man for anything has me like batting my eyes. It's fucking great. But yeah, I love that theory. Here's to hoping it's correct, or at least something close to it in terms of how compelling it is and interesting is correct, because they really need to course correct on this Jake Strong thing. And we had a big discussion about that on Lucha Underground TWitWoW, which you guys can check out on the channel. So with that said, let's move on to our next set of questions.
We've got 4 questions from Iconic Player 1. First up, what are your top 10 favorite wrestling monikers, nicknames, whatever you want to call them?
You want to just do our split up like we usually do with top 10s?
Yeah, definitely.
Guru of Greatness.
Oh, man. You took the best one right off the bat. Okay. I'll say The Truth for Ron the Truth Killings back in TNA.
Samoan Submission Machine.
Samoan Bulldozer.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're giving it. Okay. The Crippler.
Oh, that was a really good one, too. God, this is so much harder for me than it is for you. What the hell? Can I say Ambassador of Abdominals, or is that cheating since you already took Guru of Greatness?
I already, I mean, he had so many. I mean, I think.
Yeah, we can't just list off Mundo nicknames. That's not fair.
Nah.
Big Red Machine.
Ooh, the Phenom.
Cerebral Assassin.
The Messiah of the Backbreaker.
I like that one too. What are we up to? Are we up to like 8?
Yeah, we're kind of really breezing through this.
Yeah. You're breezing through this. I'm struggling through this. Let's see. Let me just name one more, and then you can name one to close it out. How about the Monster? The Monster Matanza Cueto. I like the Monster.
The American Dragon, Bryan Danielson.
You know what? I'll toss another one out there. The Animal, Batista.
There you go. Next question.
Next question from Iconic Player 1. Top 5 wrestling gimmicks. This one we're going to actually have to each name 5.
I loved Mankind when he first debuted, like as the heel, and he did that sit-down interview with Jim Ross. So 1, the Legend Killer Randy Orton. 2, nice. Can't really call it the Rabid Wolverine a gimmick, can you?
No.
Because that would have also been another nickname thing, by the way, guys. Kane's gimmick I loved. Honestly, I was a bigger Kane fan than an Undertaker fan for some portions of my wrestling fandom. So that's 3. Fuck me. Texas Rattlesnake, Stone Cold. And that is a gimmick because we know that he used to be the fucking ringmaster. So that's 4. And then gimmick. Fucking see. Where's some get? You know what? Fucking Marty the Moth. There you go. I
that's a really good one. All right. Top 5 favorite wrestling gimmicks. Let's see. Man, I feel like you're so much better at this shit than me because I just don't remember anything before like a week ago. You know what though? I will say, former soldier gone wrestler, Kill Shot will be 1 for me. And then it's just kind of sticking with my Lucha Underground faves, literal dude that should have died that got rescued before he did. Mil Muertes was amazing. Is an amazing gimmick. Time to move out of Lucha Underground though. That's 2's enough. I don't want to overdo it with any one. You know what? Intellectual monster Lars Sullivan is a gimmick that I think has a lot of room to play with that I really want to see more from.
Yeah, there you go. I love that.
Hunter, formerly Leo Kruger. I fucking loved that gimmick.
Yes, dude. Great pick. Great pick.
Yeah, that, and then you know what? Even though they've kind of wasted it over the years, I'll never forget the excitement from when he really first started collecting followers. So I'll go with cult leader gimmick Bray Wyatt.
Yes. Really great answers, dude.
All right. So, third question from Iconic Player One: if the Scum Squad had its own comic book series, what would it be about?
I guess just as us as a band of anti-heroes.
I was going to say adventures in bullying.
Yeah, adventures. Yeah, really. Like it would just be a band of anti-heroes because I know like we'd be dicks, but I also know that like each one of us has at least like a modicum of compassion, which I think is just enough for us to do the right thing, even for very selfish reasons. So yeah, adventures in bullying, the merry band of anti-heroes. I like that. So that's what I'm gonna go with.
All right, fourth and final question from Iconic Player One. You are the dictator of your own country. What is some over the top dictator shit you would do?
Well, if we're thinking dictatorship and I can't be benevolent in nature, then I guess I'll just go all out. I would throw a massive parade. I would forge my own firing squad to kill political dissidents. Um, I would build up my own military and engage in wide scale imperialism. And let's see, what else would I do? I would I would just give speeches, like a speech every week, just to practice my oratorical skills. So there we go. That's my answer to that.
Ah, man. Um, God. Oh, this is. I really like the thing is like if I'm a dictator, I didn't get there in a, kindly. I didn't get there because I'm a good guy and got elected dictator of a country. I got there through malicious means, right?
I mean, historically, yes. I think there's only been one time in like ancient Athens, like in one of the Greek palaces, where they had like a dictator that was like nominated through benevolent means and was benevolent. That's why I even said when he said dictator, I'm assuming he means in like a very like the conventional sense. You know what I mean? So I can't be like, oh, I'd be benevolent because I don't think that was like his intention. So I just kind of hammed it up. So yeah, you'd have to assume malicious means you probably killed your political rival for all we know.
I was thinking about like I don't know, like I would be really tempted to really go full bore, like trying to create a fully automated luxury communism kind of society where like nobody has a jobs, but everyone is still taken care of. And then like people have the ability to kind of do whatever the hell they want to do, and they don't have to pay for anything because it's all taken care of by the government and that kind of shit. So like that would be like my ultimate goal if I was ever in control of a country. So
I mean, mine as well. But again, like the nature of his question, I didn't even know if I could like, you know what I mean? I didn't know if I could go that route.
right, yeah, like if we're talking like what malicious over the top dictatorship you would do, I would probably implement some form of population control to try and prevent people from having too many children. So that
Ooh, that's bold. See, there we got it. Because I'm like, yeah, I'm talking about like only killing political dissident. You're like, no, the whole.
well, no, I'm like I would probably though like my thing would be like if you already have like X amount of children, you can't have another, but you can still adopt that kind of thing.
Right. Okay. Okay. Interesting.
Like stop bringing more problems into the world, you idiots.
Ha! That should be in one of your speeches.
Yeah, I mean I'm a dictator. What are you gonna do? Out me? Come on.
Yeah, I took this by force and I'll keep it by force.
All right. Up next, we've got 4 questions from Dominique Adams. What if instead of Charlotte versus Ronda, WWE is actually building towards Ronda versus Natalia, with Natalia getting a 2006 Rey Mysterio style push?
Honestly,
better option, right?
I was actually going to say worse option, believe it or not.
Oh God, no! I think it would be a better option.
Like, and I'm trying to be sincere because easily if I went with the joking route, I'd be like, well, it's shit either way.
I mean,
But
yeah, like sincerely, I think that Ronda versus a veteran like Natalia would be a better match than Ronda in the fucking dumpster fire against Charlotte.
But see, if we're thinking like the best match in terms of what's going to draw the most interest, what's going to get the most media attention, what's going to generate the most money, the way, and we've always said this, you and I, Charlotte's presentation as one of the best, they have her so fucking protected and as an elite performer that if you were to kind of pivot and go Natalia, who, yes, she comes from the Hart family, but WWE hasn't given a shit about that in like a meaningful way. I mean, it's always been in a very superficial way to me. They haven't given a shit about it in a meaningful way in the longest time. Yeah, I think it'd be a dumpster fire. Like, it's shit either way. Again, let me make that perfectly clear. But if we're talking like it's WrestleMania, how do we do business? I think that would be a horrible move because the way they presented Charlotte is like God tier, whereas Natalia, despite her namesake, is still a fucking pleb. And I think it'd be a really bad decision. And that's the most sincere answer you'll get from me talking about these three pieces of trash to begin with. So there you go.
I guess like my thing is Ronda is the only draw regardless. Like Charlotte isn't a draw at all. She doesn't even sell that much merch, and that's actually been confirmed by the likes of Meltzer and people like that. So like the WWE trying to make Charlotte a thing hasn't worked, and it's actually worked to an even worse degree than Roman. Like at least Roman moves merch, even if the argument is that's just because the machine's behind him. Not even Charlotte is moving merch. Like Charlotte isn't even over to the point that she's in that Roman status of like, oh, well, she's only over because of the push. She's only moving merch because of the push. Like she's just not. She's not over. She's not moving merch. Becky straight up turned heel on her and has been doing heelish things to her since then, and the crowd cheers for it every time. Charlotte is not over. Charlotte is not popular. Charlotte is not famous. Charlotte isn't that big of a deal. The big deal in that match would be Ronda. So, like, to me, replacing Charlotte with Natalia isn't even that big of a deal, especially when you consider that they could tell the fucking sob story of her father's death and Bret Hart being her uncle. I'm pretty sure, honestly, there's an argument that Bret Hart, and in his peak, was more popular in the US than Ric Flair ever was.
Wow. Yeah, I guess that's a fair argument to make because I guess if you really wanted to, too, you could have Bret in like Natalia's corner. And honestly, I wish Piper was still alive because then you could have Piper in Ronda's corner. And yeah, you could really have like a WrestleMania moment there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from, man. I can really sympathize with that.
So that's kind of where I'm coming from. But at the end of the day, yeah, I think it would be an upgrade because, like I said, Charlotte isn't that much more of a big deal than Natalia from like a clout standpoint and like a fame standpoint and that kind of thing. And I think Natalia would have a much better match with Ronda than Charlotte would. So that would be, I think it would be an upgrade. Anyway, I'd still be annoyed, but it's going to be annoying either way. So if I had to pick, I think Ronda Natty would be the lesser of two evils. So second question from Dominique Adams. With WWE now promoting 4 events in the span of 2.5 months, do you consider this overkill? And I think he's referring to Evolution, Crown Jewel, Super Showdown, and Survivor Series?
I can tell you for a fact there's Survivor Series because the original question did have in parentheses including Survivor Series, but I had to truncate it for the document. So
yeah, I mean, to me, you could cut Survivor Series out because they haven't even advertised that once. You could literally just say, Super Showdown, Evolution, and Crown Jewel, and yes, that is overkill for sure.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's all you need to say about it. Absolutely is. I think oversaturation is one of WWE's biggest problems on a multitude of fronts, and shows definitely being one of them. So,
and the really funny thing is, like, we've got 3 essentially meaningless shows. Evolution is a meaningful show, but no men's titles are being defended on that show. So we've got no meaningful shows featuring men's title defenses that we are actually expecting any title changes on, because Super Showdown and Crown Jewel are both glorified house shows. So we're not going to have any changes among the men's championship pictures until Survivor Series, and even further than that, because Survivor Series is most likely going to feature Raw champions versus SmackDown champions in non-title matches. So we are basically in a complete and utter stagnation in the men's divisions, whether it's men's singles on Raw or SmackDown or men's tag team on Raw or SmackDown, whether it's main event or mid-card, it doesn't matter. No title changes are going to be happening on any pay-per-views, maybe the occasional title change on television until TLC in December.
right.
So I hope you like Nakamura. I hope you like Rollins. I hope you like Roman and AJ because very likely they're going to keep their titles for at minimum another 3 months.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. So yeah, nothing really more to say. Let's move on.
Third question from Dominique Adams. Given that Okada has lost to Tanahashi, what are your thoughts about his direction for Wrestle Kingdom 13?
You know, me and Ashton were talking about this recently over like a game of Rocket League because I told him like, you know, to me it could go one of two ways. Now, this is the option I would prefer because I love Jay White with Ghetto now. I want them to pull the trigger. I want him to beat Tanahashi at King of Pro Wrestling and then go and face Kenny Omega. Although, given the tradition of champions retaining at Wrestle Kingdom, like the past couple of years, I don't see Jay White winning the title right away, but him just being in that spot like a year after his first Wrestle Kingdom where he fought for the Intercontinental title to be in the main event would just be fucking huge. And Okada would either be defending or just fighting for, period, the Intercontinental Championship. What I think is going to happen is that Jay White's going to fail in his bid against Tanahashi, which is going to disappoint me. And it's going to be this big grudge matchup, Okada versus Jay White with Ghetto in Jay White's corner with all the drama and stuff going on. So I think Okada is going to be in a high-profile grudge match at Wrestle Kingdom, which I hope I'm wrong, but that's just kind of what my gut's telling me right now. What about you, Ashton? What do you see for Okada at Wrestle Kingdom 13?
I don't know if Jay White is going to win against Tanahashi, but what I do think is that Okada is going to be facing Jericho at Wrestle Kingdom for the Intercontinental title.
God, you know, honestly, I'm just going to be rooting for Okada the whole time. I think him with the IC title could be very interesting. I would actually be totally okay. Like if he had a similar,
yeah, because then I'm guessing we would get him versus Naito for the IC title at Dominion.
Yeah, and honestly, dude, if Okada went on a similar run with the IC title that he just got done having with the world title, you would not hear a peep out of me. Like, go do it, because then the person that ultimately beats you looks like $1,000,000 fucking bucks, and you're staying out of the world title picture. And with that kind of threat, staying out of the world title picture, that makes for more interesting stories to me. Which is another reason why I want Jay White to get this push, because like I'm already thinking if hypothetically he beat Kenny Omega, a guy that I have Jay White feud with, like down the road, maybe like 6-7 months down the road. Juice Robinson for the world title, seeing how he beat Jay White for the U.S. title. Like, you open up more interesting paths to me by getting guys like Okada relegated and doing something still meaningful, but just not in the world title. So, yeah, the IC title would be perfect for him, I think.
Yeah. And the thing, too, is like, I kind of hope Jay White breaks a bunch of like firsts, like becomes a bunch of firsts, because like, at the end of the day, you don't really want a top baby face to be like the first ever to do something that's never been done before. That's like this big deal. Like, oh, first ever to win the shot at Wrestle Kingdom without winning G1.
Right.
Want a face to be that because that gives people reason to not like that person. So, and another big thing is like first ever G1 winner to win the IWGP World Title at Wrestle Kingdom. That, you know, that it's like by giving somebody too many accolades as a babyface, you give people reason to hate them. So low key, I actually kind of hope Jay White does both of those things, and we have Jay White as the IWGP World Champion by the end of Wrestle Kingdom 13. I think that would be great. And then really, you could have Naito beat him. You could have Omega beat him. You could have the really there are no limits to what you could do with that reign, because once you get that title on Jay White, people are going to be begging for someone to beat him to get that title off of him. Yes, exactly. Hypothesis. Deliberate Cena heat. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, I think you, and then hypothesis with the pipe up there with that one phrase, I think you articulated it perfectly. I'm good to move on, dude.
All right. So, fourth and final question from Dominique. What is the worst way WWE could sabotage Becky Lynch's second reign as SmackDown Women's Champion?
For me, having it end at Super Showdown and her not even regaining it at Evolution. Like, if you just have her get that moment at Hell in a Cell, and then she drops it right back to Charlotte, and she doesn't even win it back on the big stage, that would be the absolute worst fucking thing to me that you could do. So,
and you know what, dude? I think that's a perfect answer if we're just talking about timing wise. But as far as actual treatment of Becky and the way that she's been portrayed, I think they're already doing it. I think the way that every week she does something more and more despicable Yeah, like that to me is the perfect way to sabotage the title reign and sabotage her character because she went from like supposed to be this like tweener badass to now she's just outright being a heel. And how long until the cheers stop? You know,
Right.
the only thing she's not doing heelish is attacking the fans, and that's like, you know, you don't have to attack the fans in order to be a dick. And her character is a dick right now.
I mean, she's just very fortunate. And I'm not saying it's like
Honestly, it's kind of similar to the way Braun Strowman was prior to his heel turn. Like, it's like they almost did it backwards with Becky, where they did the heel turn first and then they backtracked and then they started pushing her as a dickhead. Whereas with Braun, they just started pushing him as a dickhead for a while and then they did the heel turn and it felt natural because he had already been acting like a dickhead for a little while. Whereas with Becky, like I said, they kind of did it backwards.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure. And it's just crazy that Becky has such a fan base that like the more she ups the ante, the more they lap it up. Like her taking out Charlotte and having a photo shoot while standing on Charlotte was fucking great. Like her fans loved it. I've been seeing those photos.
Right, of course. And that's
Yeah.
the thing. Like, if you're already a fan of Becky Lynch and you already are against Charlotte, no matter what she does, you're just going to double down and love her more. But the people that are more on the fence,
Right.
the shittier things she does, the more they're going to lean towards Charlotte.
Right. That's really tragic. But I couldn't have said it better, so I guess we can move on.
All right. Looks like up next we had 4 questions from Bullet Club versus the Shield, aka Asia, or in chat TPA Pettiest Boss. First up, why do assholes think it's okay to defend homophobic and racial gimmicks in 2018 wrestling?
Well, I could take the easy answer and say because they're assholes. To me,
well, yeah, see, like, and I was even going to say I could take the easy answer and say because it still gets heat. Like, that's the thing. Like, if it gets heat, they're going to think it's a good idea to do.
Which Asia did put in parentheses because I know like a lot of people that submit questions, they add like their own 2 cents to stuff. That I think she even kind of mocked that response because it gets heat, and she said, because it legitimately hurts. Like it's not the heat where like I guess you're enraptured in a performance. It's heat going to very real places of like trauma or bigotry.
Right. Like I think my question would be like, if you're at, here's a perfect example. A few years ago, CM Punk at a house show was insulting someone and he called someone a faggot and he said something along the lines of, you have a vagina. So how is that any less like this type of cheap heat than calling someone a faggot or whatever the homophobic and racial shit that she's referring to might be in today's world?
Right. Yeah. There's no difference to me.
But nobody really gave Punk shit for that back then. So
I mean, I saw, well, maybe not as much because obviously, there's a lot of, I did see several people though on my side of things give him shit, to be fair. But you're right. I think the overwhelming majority, it's not like he was being condemned left and right.
Yeah. And I think that the real thing is like, I think more people knew that he was working then. And I think it was like more people were aware, like, these aren't his real thoughts on the subject matter. He's just trying to get this negative reaction from the crowd. So
right.
Is the line in the sand how well we know the actual performer? Like, do we have to know that they're doing this racist or homophobic gimmick as a work and not even have like a question of whether it's real, or should they just not do it ever at all?
And for me, I think anymore, I'd say not do it at all unless there's going to be some kind of a come up. And even like the quote unquote comeuppance, that has the potential to be just as tasteless as the initial heat. So I'd rather just not do it at all and show more imagination in getting heat. Like I don't think Edge ever said anything racist or homophobic, and yet he was a great heel. Granted, he did some real life shit that people frowned upon, but none of that was related to him being like, oh, you're a faggot, or oh, you're this, or oh, you're that. Like nothing like that, like what Punk did and like what others are doing. I know, like on an indie show, some guy had like a fucking, Nazi gimmick, which like Ryan Satin, who I normally like, I feel like he kind of, made a wrong move by actually retweeting that, and then it got more eyes on the gimmick. Because visibility is what these kinds of gimmicks crave, or these kinds of people crave.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would just use more imagination. Like to me, it just smacks of laziness. Like not even taking the moral principle out of it and just looking at it creatively. It's so lazy, just to go for that. We talk about cheap.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of my thing too. Is like, if you know there's going to be a shitstorm, just don't do it. But at the same time, like there are a lot of people, and like that Nazi guy that you were just talking about, these people aren't doing this because they are thinking that they're immune from criticism. They're doing this hoping that it goes viral. They're doing this hoping for attention. And in that guy's case, it worked. He got a lot of blowback for it, but he knew that he was going to get blowback for it when he fucking did it.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, just don't do it. Like be smarter, have some goddamn imagination, and just do better.
Yeah, like if you can't figure out a way to get heat in wrestling without resorting to that shit, you're probably not a very good wrestler.
Yeah, that's the perfect soundbite to end on. Let's move on to Asia's next question.
This is I guess that first one was just for you. I didn't even realize that. But
yeah, I honestly couldn't tell because I feel like she gave like 3 of them like just for me and then 1 for both, but I couldn't really tell. I do think this next one's for me though.
Yeah, shame yourself for abandoning this for stupid Riot Pirates. It's canon.
Yeah, and like she shared a pic of like Sasha and Kairi. You know, you asked me to shame myself. First of all, I'm not gonna do that. Okay, this is actually the one time I'm gonna have what's that word I never give myself? Self-respect. I'm gonna have some self-respect because you know something, Asia. You want me to shame myself? Why? Because I chose Riot Pirates. Well, you know what? First of all, Boss Pirates isn't even canon. Okay, they just fucking tagged once. And if we're talking about cannons, the only person to blame here is Sasha because she shot a cannonball into my fucking heart when she hugged Bailey and chose Boss Huggers instead. Boss Pirates isn't canon. You just want to get on your hill and die on it and be petty because you even said you're really, really petty. That's your thing. I'm not doing it. You know what? This is my self-respect. I still choose Riot Pirates, and you know why I chose it? Because Ruby and Kairi built a fucking birdhouse together and nursed a bird back to health. Does Sasha even know what that means? Probably not, because she turned heel on it right as the wing was about to heal. Okay? That's what I fucking think. Riot Pirates forever. And so is standing up for myself. Yeah, self-respect. Next question.
All right, next question. Also for you, why did you eat my cookies?
Oh, because they were delicious. I'm sorry you were a more advanced student in the baking class. Not. Yeah, my stomach enjoyed it. I can hear the acids gurgling, breaking the cookies down. It was fantastic. And you know what? I mean, because unfortunately she won't be back for a while, and LA, you're deeply missed. If you go back and you hear this, I should absolve him. It wasn't Ashton that stole your milk. It was me! Because I needed something to wash the cookies down, and it was fucking delicious, and you know what? I'd do it again. It gets me hard thinking about it. Yeah! I feel like I'm on a roll here. Next question.
Jesus Christ. Okay, next question. Do a rant on the Brie Bella Liv Morgan situation.
You know what? I don't even know. Okay. I don't even necessarily want to rant about it because I've seen some very good takes. Surprisingly, one of the best takes came from James, and I'm being completely unironic about that. Look, accidents happen, but like Brie is so fucking rusty. Put her in the like if you need her on TV so bad because you want to do evolution and all this stuff, reintegrate her into the performance center first. Have her work with trainers and stuff like that in a safe environment where she can't hurt anybody. By taking a person, and I know we hate the Bellas, okay, but I don't want that to like come into this. I don't think it should come into this if we're gonna have an intelligent discussion. Like, they're the Bellas, yes, they're awful, but if you have plans for them because of their namesake, because of how popular they are, then do it responsibly. You just took this woman who has been used to being a mother and being away from the ring for God knows how long. Rust is going to build up for anybody. I don't care if you're like somebody that's been there 2 weeks or 20 years. You know, you spend enough time away, you're going to get rusty. You threw her into the fucking deep end, which of course, what's she going to do? Say no with all that fucking money on the table and stuff? Like, I wouldn't. I can't even judge her for that because I wouldn't. But you should have, being the authority in the room, being the one that controls the contracts and the resources and everything, should have said, look, Brie, Nikki, we're really glad to have you back and focus here on Brie here. But we're going to put you back in the Performance Center. You guys can maybe even do some NXT events where you tag up, maybe even work a takeover, legitimize a team that we've got. I don't know. But, you know, work off your ring rust here with the coaches and stuff. Reintegrate yourself on TV for like a few NXT events. Then we can bring you back, almost like you graduated all over again to the main roster. You went about this totally wrong. Because we,
you know, I almost have to wonder if they asked her to and she downright refused. Like, no, I got this. I'm good.
And if she did, that's incredibly irresponsible. Like, know your limit. Like, I even saw it. Now, this is kind of unrelated, but people were giving this person shit because they said, like, I don't know anything about what you asked me. So, like, they're not feigning knowledge. They're being openly out, like, I'm ignorant of the situation. I'm not going to do what you asked me. If you're rusty, if you don't know something, whatever the context is, don't, like, be embarrassed about that. Because if you try and feign that you know what you're doing, it's going to cause a lot more harm long term. Like, you don't see me being like, oh yeah, I totally understand quantum physics, and then going to give like a fucking lecture in a college hall or something. Like, I'm not going to do that because that would just be disastrous. And Bree, if she's like, oh yeah, I got this, I'm fine. Like, it's like riding a bike. Well, you were never that proficient in the first place because you came along in an era where they weren't really looking at in-ring work and work rate and all that stuff. And you know, that, like, I'm not judging you for that. You just benefited off of that being the system at the time. Well, the system has changed. I mean, maybe superficially at most, but it has changed. And you've got to accommodate to those changes. Otherwise, people are going to get hurt. So I'm not even really looking at Brie Bella, the individual, completely. It's like 90 to 95% the culture, and like the other 5 to 10% being Brie Bella for being complicit in that culture, which allows things like what happened to Liv happen. Which, speaking of Liv, kudos to her for wanting to finish the match and insisting that the match be finished. I hope she's going to do okay. I did hear it was a concussion.
You know, I keep hearing kudos and props to Liv, but to me, like, girl, if you're concussed, listen to the fucking doctor and stay out of the goddamn match.
I mean, you know, I guess she just wanted to see it through. I don't know, like, who got in her ear about, like, you know, the locker room culture and stuff like that. Like, you finish a match, but it sucks either way that it was a concussion, because given all the brain science and what we know, it's really become a term that I've grown to hate. Like, before, like, any injury is always concerning, but just to know how grave concussions are based on the science we have to us, that really sucks that that happened to her. And the thing is, it was completely unavoidable. If we didn't have a culture in WWE that put profits over people, which to me is the culture of capitalism, but I'm not going to get into that.
No, I agree that. I agree with you.
And, you know, and I think Liv was just a casualty. And Brie, well, I guess a casualty, you know, on the pulpit of social media. I mean, let's be honest, is also a beneficiary, because if somebody did come to her and say, do you want to work the rust off? And she said no, you were complicit in whatever liabilities you possessed. And this is what happens. So it's not even going to be an angry, oh, Brie, you failed. No, like, it's a very serious thing that happened. And all the people that are like, accidents happen. Yeah, but like, context fucking matters. And the context here is, I don't think any of this had to happen at all. So that's just my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, and like we've been saying for weeks now that the Bellas are the worst part of the WWE product now, and then this shit happens. Like, I know confirmation bias is a bad thing, but when we have an opinion and then it gets so blatantly confirmed by something happening like this, it really does make you think, like, God, we were right the whole time. And it's not even like a satisfying I knew this, we were right kind of thing. It's more of just like a, see, why didn't you listen to us earlier kind of thing.
Exactly, Ashton. Exactly.
All right. Up next, one question from Cliff Mall. Can you rip Dustin Runnels a new one for saying that the Becky win ought to shut the marks up?
You said only one question from Cliff. He has 2 questions. Did you not? I know I had both of them in the doc. Did you not see his other question?
I didn't see 2 questions in the doc from him.
I had 2 questions, I think, on the version I sent you.
Let me pull the version that you sent me back up. Yeah, I only see 1 question.
That is really weird. He has a second question, which I had to put his image in a separate doc, but I will answer this one question first, and then I'll read the second question. Okay. So, yeah, you know what? Again, it's not even really about, like, because it's the same shit. Like, this is another guy that's a lot like Road Dogg, where it's like, we'll tell you what to like, and he doesn't understand that, like, any entertainment medium. I think South Park once said this. And I think it was, you remember the episode, Ashton? Because, you know, I love Tweak when they had Tweak as the new friend when Kenny died and he stayed dead. Where it's like they were remaking all the movies and they were trying to stop them from remaking Raiders of the Lost Ark. And I think Kyle had a commentary at the end, and one of the lines is very resonant with me. He said, that's the thing. Like, when you produce art and you release it to the world, it's not just yours anymore. It's all of ours. And, like, that's kind of how I feel about wrestling. Like, when you're wrestling in front of millions of people watching at home or however many in an arena, like, that is the vulnerability of your art, but that vulnerability means that, like, we all kind of have ownership in it. Because, like, we're watching it, we're engaging it, we're consuming it, and, of course, the 2 most immediate people or however many people are producing it. All we're doing is evaluating the art that they're creating, and, you know, I think we have every right to do that. So when you call us smarks trying to, like, put us down, we're just simply making aesthetic evaluations like, why is this person the villain? Like, why is this person with these motivations, with these dispositions, the face? It doesn't make any sense. This person we feel moves very clunky in the ring. We were just talking about Brie. Like, these are all very normal things to say. What, do you think that I'm going to spend however many freaking years at film school and make like a whole resume, a portfolio of like independent films before I can go home, sit comfortably in my chair and be like, now I can criticize movies? It's completely stupid to me, and it's completely nonsensical, because I guarantee you, these people that say, oh, that ought to make the Smarks happy, I guarantee you they don't even self-reflect when they watch a movie with their family or whatever, and they just say, I didn't really like it. That it never really occurs to them like, wow, I can make judgments too without having really done it. And it's to me, it's the worst kind of hypocrisy, because it's just so like boring and just dry and just like, just face palming. So that's really all I have to say about that. He can go fuck himself as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I really do think it's like it's kind of a holdover from that corny mentality, because like late 80s, early 90s wrestling still was very much, and really even into the late 90s, I would say, and maybe even a little into the early 2000s too. That corny mentality really did kind of carry over, and guys like Road Dogg and Dustin are from that era. And I think that this was an era where there was a lot less universal access to information across the world. And now that information to act or access to information, rather, I said that backwards at first, access to information is so universal and so at our fingertips at any given time. I think that people are more willing to formulate their opinions on wrestlers based on who they are outside of what they see on TV.
Right.
And I think that, you know, there are a lot of things that lead people to love Becky, and not just love Becky Lynch the character, but love Rebecca Quinn the person, and never be willing to boo her. And I think that that applies to like Cliff and all of the other members of the Scum Squad that love Becky. I think that it's not just we love Becky Lynch the character. I think a lot of it has to do with the appreciation that we have for Rebecca Quinn the person and her journey. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I don't think that we have that same connection with Charlotte, or in this case, Ashley Flair, because we don't really know anything about her struggle in life. We know that, you know, excuse me, hang on one second. Sorry about that. We know that, you know, she was kind of, to a degree at least, she had a silver spoon in her mouth coming up because her father was Ric Flair. And even though he likes to burn through money, that, you know, he had the money to burn in the first place. And we know that she went to college and full ride scholarship playing volleyball, and wrestling wasn't her first choice. And she kind of failed her way into wrestling. And a lot of people speculate that she's only in wrestling because of the death of her brother and all that stuff. So when you see that kind of dichotomy between these real life people and that information being so easily accessible online, I think that people are just less willing to boo Becky relative to Charlotte. And even if you want to just look at the kayfabe, the story that was told over the course of a few months led people to dislike Charlotte and like Becky. And so, as far as Dustin talking about, Becky winning ought to shut the Smarks up, I find that kind of funny too, because I almost have to wonder who exactly he thinks Smarks are these days, because I almost have to wonder if he realizes how universal internet access is among wrestling fans. Like, I don't know. I think that there was a point when Eric Bischoff said, like, oh, only like 10% of wrestling fans go on the internet in search of wrestling information and content. I would guess that number is probably closer to like give or take 10 or 15%. I would say it's around 50% these days. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I would say it's in like the 35 to 65% range, somewhere in there. So, it's just one of those situations where old timers want dumber fans, but you can't turn back the clock. Or as Jim Cornette says, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube.
Right.
And I think they really desperately want to, but because they can't, they don't know how to adapt with the times. So they just do the same old shit and expect people to react the same old way. And when they don't, it's always everyone else's fault and they never look inwards. So I think that's a lot of what's going on here.
Beautifully said. All right, now Cliff's second question, which I'm going to read off because on I guess the version I sent you didn't have this question. He said, "If you had to make,
The version that you sent me, was it an image rather than a question?
well, yeah, because I like there's a question, but then like I had an image with it, but it was a separate doc though. That's the thing. I made a separate doc for it because I know some people submit questions where it's like an image thing. It's weird. But he said, if you had to make the greatest card of all time with these matches, who would you put in them? And now I'm going to read the matches that he has for us here, and we're going to have to fill it in. So, Cruiserweight title, grudge match, which is a street fight, tag titles 2v2, Money in the Bank ladder match up to 8
Oh
people.
shit! Hang on, let me type this stuff up. Grudge match, street, match, street fight, tag match, 2v2. Okay.
And let's see, tag match 2v2. Okay, Money in the Bank ladder match, 8 people. Special attraction match, singles, women's title match, IC title match, and a world title match. That's a 60-minute Iron Man. Now, if I remember correctly from Cliff's question too, let me just look at this real quick because I think he said, okay, yeah. And I should also clarify, he said that these are all time, so not just current. So I guess any superstars we'd want to make the ultimate card, we would do that. So
okay. So we have access to any superstar throughout history at any time period, no matter what.
Yes.
Okay. Do you just want to do like a back and forth here where I name my grudge match and then you name your grudge match and I do tag match and back and forth like that?
Sure. So let's start with the Cruiserweight title, I guess. What's your Cruiserweight title match?
Oh shit, I didn't type down Cruiserweight title. God damn it. That depends. Are we going by the current 205 weight limit or the old 225 weight limit?
I would say 225.
Okay, so then my Cruiserweight title match. Am I going first or are you going first? I'm probably going first, right?
You could go first on this, yeah.
All right. Cruiserweight title match all time. All right. And I obviously don't want to repeat, so I can't use guys that I would want to use for the 60-minute Iron Man match. Cruiserweight title match, and I'm guessing this has to be singles.
Yeah, because I think he even specified 1v1. No, he didn't, but yeah, I would just assume one-on-one match, I guess.
Okay. All right. Cruiserweight title match. You know what? We're gonna go a little more modern, actually, rather than like going like the old school. Because I was thinking like Guerrero or something like that, but we're gonna go a little more contemporary, and we're gonna go with because he didn't specify singles. We're gonna go with the triple threat of a fucking lifetime: Ricochet versus Ospreay versus Pac.
And it's funny you mentioned Ricochet because I have Ricochet, but I am going against WCW Guerrero because like he apparently was insane back then as a cruiserweight. So yeah, Ricochet versus Guerrero for me.
All right. Then we've got a grudge match. So, God, a grudge match. So it would be two guys that really fucking hate each other. I'm really tempted to go full like WrestleMania carny goofy bullshit and say Cornette versus Russo.
Yeah, right.
But I'm keeping it serious. Let's do a grudge match that never got the chance to happen that could have happened, based exclusively on whether drinking is good or bad. Stone Cold Steve Austin versus CM Punk.
Ooh, I like that in a street fight, no less. You know what? My grudge match, simply because, like, again, if this was all time, then I'm assuming we get these people at their absolute best. Then I'm just going to do this because it seemed to work at the Rumble. I'm going to do Cactus Jack versus my time era Triple H. So,
nice,
yeah, we'll do that at the WrestleMania stage.
All right, tag team match. Okay, this is a lot more difficult for me because I'm somebody that never really paid too much attention to tag team wrestling. So I am gonna go Angle and Benoit versus the Revival.
I will go with the Revival, and only because I feel like he had a WBT, so I'm going to assume that he's going to re-sign. I will do the Revival versus Beer Money.
Oh God.
So Money in the Bank ladder match.
That's the only match that either one of us has made so far that I've like openly been like, oh well, I'm gonna pass.
Yeah.
Money in the Bank ladder match. All right. Oh God. Then the question is, are we going for like a dream match or are we going for like most likely? Because if we're going for most likely, we've got to include all the guys that are in every Money in the Bank that never win it, like Shelton Benjamin, MVP, Carlito, Christian, you know.
Well, I mean, Cliff did say greatest card of all time. So when you think greatest, you would think Dream, right?
Right. Okay. So we're thinking dream match. So I'm gonna, you know what? Let's, oh God, since it's 8 guys, why don't we go back and forth and name 4 people each to make one match that we'll just share?
Okay, can I go first with my first pick?
Yes.
Andrade Cien Almas.
Ooh, I love that. I'm gonna go with Ruthless Aggression era Jeff Hardy.
I will go with Ruthless Aggression era Edge.
I'll go with Ruthless Aggression era Christian. Actually, no. Fuck that. I'm going with like very recent pre-retirement era Christian because I feel like he was actually better then than he was before he went to TNA.
I will go with modern era Matt Riddle.
Oh, Jesus. So that's 5. Oh my God. Shit. Jack Evans.
Jack Evans, and I get one more.
And I get one more too.
I will go.
And I know who it's going to be already.
Okay. You know what? I will go again modern Drew McIntyre.
Angelico.
Beautiful. Special attraction match. For me, this is easy. And it's funny because it was your grudge match, but to me, like it just makes more sense as a singles match. Stone Cold Steve Austin. Actually, no, that this wasn't yours because yours was Stone Cold and Punk. My special attraction match: Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, that's a really good one. That's a classic that never happened. You know what other classic never happened though? That would be a pretty damn awesome special attraction match that they could have done, but they just didn't do.
What's that?
Sting versus Undertaker.
Who versus the Undertaker?
Sting versus Undertaker.
Oh shit! Yeah, I like that.
But it would be like NWO era Sting versus Deadman, or maybe even American Badass Undertaker. I mean, actually, no, Big Evil Undertaker.
Okay.
I mean, maybe you know what? Maybe as far as the gimmicks go, maybe it would be better if it was just Deadman. I don't know. Well, maybe Ministry. I don't fucking know. Just take your pick. Whatever Undertaker you think works best against NWO era Sting. That's what we're doing.
Women's title match for me: Io Shirai versus Sasha Banks. Oh, we got a $2 super chat from TPA Cliff. Keith Lee versus Mark Henry, I guess, for his special attraction match. But yeah, my women's title match: Io versus Sasha.
Yeah, that's a really, really good one. Shit. I mean, dude, I can't top that. Fuck it. I'm just gonna sign on Io Sasha as the easy one. What happened to me going first? We switched at the goddamn ladder match.
Oh, sorry. I guess you want to go first with the IC match?
No, you can keep going first. It's fine.
Chris Benoit versus Daniel Bryan.
Chris Jericho versus Rob Van Dam.
Beautiful. World title, 60-minute Iron Man match: AJ Styles versus Seth Rollins.
Oh, did you have this shit already typed up, by the way?
No.
Oh, okay. I feel like you're answering really decisively and it's intimidating me.
Look at you being unnerved.
I'm gonna go with Styles versus Johnny Mundo.
Ooh, look at you giving me a boner.
Oh my God.
Well,
there you go, guys. That's our dream match card.
All right, so those were Cliff's 2 questions. Now who do we got?
Varus, first up, he's got 3 questions for us. First up, what are your thoughts on John Jones' reinstatement in UFC? I have no thoughts.
I was very briefly a UFC fan, and I saw John the Bones Jones. I think he's a beast. I've heard he's had drug problems. You know, if he's cleaned up, if he's ready to dominate, good for him. But it really doesn't affect me because I really don't even watch UFC much anymore. Like I had a very brief flirtation with it, like less than a month, I'd say. And but yeah, best of luck to him, I guess.
All right. Second question from Javaris, and he specified this is for either of us. Cut a promo on Dana White about how he ranted on Matt Riddle just because he smoked weed.
Look, if Dana White has a problem with people that fucking smoke weed, I'm just gonna tell him that when you want to join us in the 21st fucking century, we'll all be waiting for you. Like, this isn't the Reefer Madness generation anymore. Being a pot smoker isn't gonna have you like be an axe murderer. We can even ask hypothesis. I don't know. You'd probably be cheeky with it, but have you ever picked up an axe and murdered anybody? Did you ever jump out a window? Like, the movie was fucking absurd. People that are still like, oh, pot's negative now. Is there a downside to anything you do, like excessively? Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the thing, is excessively. That's the key word. Like anything that somebody does too much is going to fuck their shit up.
Exactly. Like, to me, and that's why I don't like the other side of the spectrum either. That's like, oh, pod's a panacea. Because I used to be in that group. I find that that's mostly like the libertarian strain up here in like the Northeast. It's not a cure-all either. But I do think, in medically appropriate doses for people that need it, for like psychosomatic effects or just like to get the hunger going if you have cancer or whatever, or just because you fucking enjoy it. Like, I barely do it. Ashton, you know this, but you know that when I do it, because I don't do it so often, my tolerance is always so low. It's like I do it for the first time every time, and it's fucking great. Like, I immensely enjoy it. And the only urge I get is to like go tell my diet to go fuck itself, make a large pizza and eat it by myself, and also tell my lactose intolerance apparently to go fuck itself. Yeah, look, the whole drug criminality thing, especially in sports, I think is so fucking stupid, especially marijuana. Like,
dude,
yeah.
Like the fact that these athletes get opioids up the ass, but they're not allowed to smoke a little weed is disgusting.
Ashton, that's the soundbite right there. I don't even want to, because that tells you everything you need to know about our drug culture. Oh, what? Oxycontin. Oh, but it was prescribed though, so you're okay. Weed, get the fuck out. Like,
yeah,
it's so
dude.
stupid.
Like that shit has ruined Josh Gordon's NFL career, and he's one of the most talented receivers in the NFL. But he spent the better part of the last 3 years suspended and on the fucking commissioner's exempt list because of fucking weed of all things. Like,
yeah,
we have NFL players found guilty of domestic abuse, and fucking Jameis Winston a couple years ago grabbed his Uber driver by the crotch, and we have rampant opioid addiction in the NFL, and yet Josh fucking Gordon, this uber talented wide receiver who just wants to get a little high every now and then to numb the pain that your fucking opioids are meant to do, that are way more dangerous than weed. And yet he ends up spending the better part of 3 seasons on the commissioner's exempt list and suspended and shit like that because of the goddamn weed.
Dude, it is so goddamn stupid. And I will just say 2 things too. I forget what year I read this, but I read a study that actually found that more people now in this country are hooked on over-the-counter drugs than they are quote-unquote street drugs, which given the culture is not surprising at all. Like, we have a culture where it's like, oh, I'm coming in with this pain, and rather than a holistic approach, like, okay, well, how much are you exercising? What's your diet? What are you doing here? It's like, oh, well, let me just write you a prescription for this, and then that's how you get it fucking started. And fucking weed, which again, I'm not saying can't have malicious or malignant effects, but they're certainly not the kind that have been drudged up by the status quo because the drug war makes them so much fucking money. And it's like, oh, you're using that to ease your pain rather than this thing that you're going to get hooked on and ruin your fucking life. Well, fuck you, buddy. You're out. And
like you and I occasionally would make fun of Jeff Hardy, but he's just as much of a victim as anyone.
Oh, absolutely, dude. All jokes aside, absolutely. He is a prime victim of this culture that I am talking about. And let me tell you something. In New Hampshire, we have a really bad heroin epidemic here. In fact, I heard, I guess nationwide, that life expectancy went down for the 2nd straight year because of like the drug problem that is only exacerbated by the drug war, by the excessive criminality of drugs, and by treating all drugs as categorically the same. Like, you cannot tell me. And see, this is where it kind of strikes a nerve with me, because you know the kind of family I grew up in, and you guys have known me long enough to know the kind of family I grew up in. I take it very personally when you tell me that weed is categorically the same as heroin. Because like I lost my fucking family to heroin. I've never lost anybody to fucking weed. Didn't get the right the fuck out here with that bullshit. And then when you take young lives, whether they be black lives or athletes or whatever, and you ruin them because they decide to smoke a little weed, when Japan just outright bans marijuana for life, when Dana White wants to get on his fucking pulpit, when with or without drugs, he's kind of a sleaze bag too, and he wants to rail against him, like you can all get fucked. Like I just really don't have the time or the patience for it, and yeah, that's really all I have to say about it. So let's move on to Javaris' next question.
All right, Javaris's third and final question. What are the chances of a dual podcast with TWitWoW and TPA? Shameless plug.
I'd say no chance, honestly, and that's not even.
Yeah, no, I was going to say the same thing. We have discussed maybe offering a sort of a deal where if you want to pay double for a live reaction request, you can join us on the live reaction. But that would be just us and whoever the individual is that requested that live reaction. It wouldn't be us and 4 or 5 other people.
Absolutely, because we've like done collaborations before, and like after the fact, me and Ashton were just like, you know what, you and I have a rhythm that's just like we hate really overly disrupting it.
So, well, and that's another thing is the TPA. You guys kind of have a natural chemistry with each other that we have already. Like I know me, Cliff, and Brandon have already been in a Discord call. And I felt like I couldn't get a word in edgewise. And I know that John has already experienced calls with you guys, and he felt the same way. So it's just not going to work.
Very dominant person. And you're talking like if it was the two of us, and I feel like it's usually like 4 to 5 people on a TPA podcast episode.
That's yeah, like I think TPA is like a group of 4 or 5. Yeah, because it's Cliff, Asia, Varus, Brandon, and maybe Jackie sometimes.
Yeah, like, dude, that's 6 to 7 people in one room. There's no fucking way. Like, you can't even establish a baseline of coherence to me. So it's nothing personal or malicious. It's just more logistic and just, personal, just because of past experience, collabs and stuff like that. Just no, it's not gonna happen. But
up next, we got 4 questions from Mark Shoneman. First up, and John, I'm assuming you have these lists because the first one is pair each main roster / NXT woman from the top list with a Mae Young Classic woman that you would like to see them face from the bottom list. No repeats.
Yes, I do have these images. Now, Ashton, I'm guessing you're probably going to want to copy this for yourself, so I'm going to go slowly. Okay, this is the NXT main roster list. Are you ready?
Are these lists that you can literally just like post links to in the chat?
Actually, yeah, I probably could copy. No, you know what? Let me go back to the original tweet.
Were these via DM or were these replies to your pinned tweet?
This was replies to my pinned tweet. So let me.
So they're public. They're public. They're viewable by everyone. So you can literally just link the tweets that these lists are from.
Right. Let me go do that now. I just got to get to my pinned tweet. Hold on a second. Because yeah, he has 2 of these list questions, which are always a bit rough, but we've actually done pretty well this Q&A. Okay, so this is the one list question right here. I'm gonna say.
Here we go. Okay. I have the list of Mae Young Classic women, but I'm not seeing the list for main roster or NXT.
You have to click the full image, I think, because that's what I had to do.
Oh, okay, awesome. There we go. Okay, I see the list now.
Yeah. Okay. So
the main roster / NXT women that he's listed are Sasha, Becky, Bayley, Ember, Ruby, Asuka, Peyton, Naomi, Carmella, Kyrie, Bianca, Dakota, and Candice. And then the Mae Young Classic women that he's listed are Mako, Killer Kelly, Mercedes, Io, Tony, Ginny, Rachel, Deanna, Priscilla, Lacey, Mia, Allison, and Tegan.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna go first on this if you don't mind.
Go for it.
I am gonna pair Mako with Bayley, Io with Sasha, obviously.
Okay.
Becky, I think.
By the way, I've been wanting to ask since you just started, since Mark's still here. When you say no repeats, does that mean that I'm not allowed to use the same matchup that John is using here?
Yeah, Mark, if you could clarify that for us real quick.
Because your first one was Mako. Oh, let me type it. Mako v. Bayley, and then the second one was what was Io Sasha? Right?
Yeah, Io Sasha.
Okay, and then the third one.
I would do. I'm thinking Becky and Tegan Knox.
Okay.
Let's see. Killer Kelly, I would put, I think, with Asuka.
Okay.
Bianca, I would do with Mia Yim.
Okay.
Priscilla Kelly, I would do with Carmella.
Okay.
Let's see.
Can you explain why on that one?
Priscilla and Carmella?
Yeah, I'm curious.
Just cause.
Just like a feel thing.
Yeah. I'll say Mercedes and Candice. Ginny and Dakota Kai.
Hang on a sec. You're going a little bit too fast for me. I'm trying to type these so that I don't repeat any.
Okay.
I got TPK versus Carmella. Who was it against Candice?
Mercedes against Candice.
Candice. Okay.
Shit. Ginny versus Dakota Kai. Deanna versus Ember. Mia versus Bianca.
You already did Mia.
Okay.
Oh, and that was, you already did Mia versus Bianca, actually. That matchup.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Allison. I think I would do Allison versus Kyrie.
Okay.
And did I do Tony Storm yet?
No.
Tony Storm versus Asuka.
You already did Asuka against Killer Kelly.
Damn. Tony against Ruby. Tony against Ruby. I know I haven't done Ruby Riott yet. So
yep.
And is that it?
Lacey Lane is the only one left in the one list. I don't know who's left in the other list. Naomi?
Peyton, right?
Naomi.
Okay, so yeah, Lacey versus Naomi, I guess.
Although you're right though. Peyton is also left, which means there's got to be someone else left in the other list. Did you mention Rachel Evers? No, you didn't.
I don't think it's Peyton versus Rachel Evers then.
Okay. So we've got Rachel Evers and Lacey Lane left on one list, and then Naomi and Peyton Royce on the other list.
So Lacey versus Naomi and Rachel versus Peyton.
Rachel v. Peyton. Okay. So those are your matchups. God damn, Mark, this is a long ass list. Okay. I just kind of going over the names. I immediately thought I want to do Allison Kay versus Bailey, because Allison Kay is the dominator type. Like the way that she wrestles is very like dominant and like almost like angry and aggressive. And I feel like that's a really good antithesis to Bailey, who is really good at selling and like facial expressions and desperation and stuff like that. So I would do Allison Kay versus Bailey. I'm just going to go in order of the main roster / NXT women that you listed. So you picked Bailey first and you had her against Mako. I'm going to do Sasha Banks. Oh shit. I actually have one of these listed backwards. Mia versus when you had. I will do, let's see, who would Sasha's best opponent? Probably someone that she could kind of dominate a little bit. I'm going to go Sasha versus Deanna.
Okay. I like that.
And I know that Mark did say that we just aren't allowed to like repeat one person against multiple people from the other list. But I'm still going to go out of my way to try not to repeat any matches that you had, which is why I'm doing Sasha Deanna instead of Sasha Io, because you already took Sasha Io because you've taken that from me twice now in this one goddamn session.
Hooray!
You bastard. Becky was the next woman that you used. For Becky, let's see. You know what? Let's have a fucking match of the year candidate. Mercedes versus Becky.
Oh, I like that.
So does my mom, she just said. Next woman that you used was Asuka. I know who I want my opponent for Io to be, and it's not her. So Asuka. Let's have a battle of the ass attacks. Tony Storm versus Asuka.
Oh, there you go. All right.
Next woman was Bianca. Man, I just realized there aren't really any bigger women on the NXT main roster list, so Lacey doesn't really have any natural opponents. but still, like I want to pick someone who's like a dominant like fighter to take on Lacey Lane because that's like she's like a similar to a Bailey type where she's better fighting from underneath. So
Right.
I'll go with Lacey versus Bianca. That would actually be a really fun match too because they both do like 450s and Bianca's got like that added power element and Lacey's like the elusive type. So yeah, that would be fun. Carmella. Oh man, Carmella. I'm trying to just like try and figure out who would work against Carmella. Yeah, Mako versus Carmella would be really interesting because Carmella's entire thing would be trying to just avoid getting destroyed. Let's see. Candice versus Killer Kelly makes a lot of sense to me. So Candice LeRae taking on Killer Kelly. Dakota Kai versus you already have her facing Ginny. She's already faced Ginny too, outside of WWE. Dakota Kai. You know what? Let's have the fly kick civil war. Dakota Kai versus Tegan Knox.
There you go.
And then I already said I had an idea who I wanted to face Io, and it was Ember Moon. So Io Shirai versus Ember Moon. Fuck yes. Kyrie's opponent. You know what? I think Ginny is a perfect opponent for Kyrie. That would be amazing. And it would
just want to tear me apart.
I just said, and it would tear you apart inside. So it's even better.
You dick. Although I love the laugh at the end there of you just reveling in it. So continue.
Yeah. Let's see. Ruby Riot. Who's left on this list that can still really go? That could give Ruby a really good match. Rachel Evers. Rachel versus Ruby. Like that. And then we have Naomi and Peyton left on the right side, and TPK and Mia Yim left on the left side. All right, we're going to do TPK versus Naomi and Mia versus Peyton for me.
Awesome. All right.
All right, so I'm going to just briefly go over these, and you guys in chat can determine who has the best lineup here. For John, we have Mako versus Bailey, Io versus Sasha, Tegan versus Becky, Killer Kelly versus Asuka, Mia Yim versus Bianca, the Priscilla Kelly versus Carmella, Mercedes Martinez versus Candice LeRae, Ginny versus Dakota Kai, Deonna Purrazzo versus Ember Moon, Allison Kay versus Kairi Sane, Toni Storm versus Ruby Riott, Lacey Lane versus Naomi, and Rachel Evers versus Peyton Royce. And I've got Allison Kay versus Bailey, Deonna Purrazzo versus Sasha, Mercedes Martinez versus Becky Lynch, Toni Storm versus Asuka, Lacey Lane versus Bianca Belair, Miko versus Carmella, Killer Kelly versus Candice LeRae, Tegan Knox versus Dakota Kai, Io Shirai versus Ember Moon, Ginny versus Kairi, Rachel Evers versus Ruby Riott, Priscilla Kelly versus Naomi, and Mia Yim versus Peyton Royce.
Sounds fantastic, man.
Okay. Second question. God, that was one question. So this was another one with a list. Second question from Mark Shoneman. If I can fill a burned CD with exactly 22 songs, and he provided a list here, is this the best possible list of 22 theme songs that I could have possibly put on this burned CD? And if not, what changes would you make? So I'm up the pin tweet again so that I can look at this list. Here we go. And he has Andrade Cien Almas, Minoru Suzuki, Finn Balor, Ember Moon, Pentagon Dark, The Mac, Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks, Undisputed Era, Evil, Tetsuya Naito, Sami Zayn, Asuka, Marty Scurll, Mil Muertes, Kevin Owens, Ruby Riott, Seth Rollins, Aleister Black, Velveteen Dream, Johnny Gargano, and Bray Wyatt on his list.
Okay, so I pretty much like the list. The only changes I would make, I don't care for Minoru Suzuki's theme. You guys know this.
My God.
So don't you hush your face.
Of all the theme songs from New Japan that you would change, and you choose the one that I wouldn't change.
Yeah, listen, I told you, hush your face.
God, your hatred for Kaze Ninare is really disgusting.
Wow. Wow. You just keep upping the ante, don't you? I would switch that out with Juice's theme. I quite like Juice's theme, so I'd go with that. I don't really care for Mills' Lucha Underground theme either. I'd switch that out with the Mac.
He mentioned the Mac. Mac was already on the list.
Oh, did he? I don't see the Mac. Oh no, there he is. There he is.
It's
Okay,
like the sixth one in.
then I would switch it for the other obvious one, and that's Welcome to Slamtown, which I don't see on here. So yeah, that would probably be the only big changes. Everything else looks pretty good to me. So
All right, so here's what I would remove. I would remove the Mac, Evil, Naito, Mill, and that's it. So that's 4. Those are 4 names that I would remove. And in their places, I would put the Canellis theme song, Here's to the Greatest Love I've Known. I would also put the pre current pre oh god, I forget what the name of it is. Basically Becky Lynch's older theme song from NXT, not the fucking Irish, step dancing one, but the one in between that and her current theme. So you would just have 2 Becky theme songs then.
right.
Also insert Neville's theme that he had before Take Orbit, because he had a really good theme song before that. And then I would also add in Phoenix's theme song from Lucha Underground, because I think Phoenix has the second best theme in Lucha Underground behind Pentagon. I love Phoenix's theme. And then in my 4th slot, I would put Rhea Ripley's original Mae Young Classic theme song from last year. So that would be the 4 that I would replace Mac, Evil, Naito, and Mill with on this list.
All right, that sounds good to me, man. Let's move on to our next question.
All right, so that's the 3rd question from Mark. Now that Johnny Mundo called himself the Maharaja of manliness, can we officially cancel Jinder Mahal? Yes, please.
Oh, we absolutely could cancel Jinder Mahal. We could have canceled him long before that even happened. But yeah, it fits so much better with Johnny Mundo. Absolutely.
Sure,
Yes.
Right? Yeah, totally.
All right, next question.
Well, it's not really a question. This is a request. Johnny Scumbag cut a promo on Jake Strong. I'm gonna mute my mic for this. Holy shit.
Oh my god, this motherfucker. How many times have we have given you more attention in one day, you worthless mouth-breathing malcontent, than you ever have known in your entire life or ever should know, because you're a fucking waste. I just called my son a waste of my sperm, and yet in hindsight, he's still better than you. Cliff is better than you. If that does not give you even the slightest suicidal tendency, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, Jesus, tap dancing Christ, you are the epitome of worthless. How is it? Tell me something. Tell me something. How is it that somebody could be in the wrestling business as long as you have and just not change? I'm not even talking about like getting worse or getting better, but you don't change up a goddamn thing. Swagger bomb in the corner, gut wrench, ankle. It's the same boring offense. And you're supposed to be like this 2-time All-American collegiate level amateur wrestler, and this is the best you could fucking come up with? Like, you come from a lineage that includes like fucking Kurt Angle, Brock Lesnar, Matt Riddle, and they're all laughing at you. You know that, right? Like, the best thing that was ever said about you was when John Cena called you Biff from Back to the Future, because that was more of a compelling character in those 2 films than you've been in your entire wrestling run. I know I tell Kona Reeves to aim lower, but I almost wonder if Kona Reeves could actually clear a bar higher than you can, because at least he tries to have personality. I mean, Jesus, it's like a wet paper bag and a carrot decided to have an affair, and they were both so ashamed of it, but then just one of them, whichever one could give birth, decided to keep the kid, which was really a crime to humanity because it was your fugly fucking ass. Jesus. To say that I hate you would be an insult to language when I can do so much better. I loathe you with every fiber of my being, that though I am the epitome of the armchair critic, I am still probably a better wrestler than you, because I understand what wrestling actually is. And that doesn't even get into the territory of how you cut a promo. My God, Zeb Coulter was the best thing to fucking happen to you. Do you even know what it means to have a personality? And I know you brag about like the wife that you've married, and yes, I will say aesthetically she's very beautiful, but I do wonder though, you must be doing something right, because God, with that kind of personality, how was your day? Oh, it was really good. I'm better than anybody, and I'll always be the best because a wrestler is always. That's what you fucking sound like in my head. And
He makes
honestly,
Bret Hart look like Stone Cold Steve Austin.
he really does. See, like you're so hated and you're so fucking awful that people can't even contain how bad you are. Like, here's the thing, right? There are people that just the thought of them breathing disgusts me, and you're in that territory. But for you, it's even worse. Like you could hold your breath and it would offend me. Just the idea that you are, just the idea that the entity known as Jake Strong, Jack Swagger, Jake Hager, whatever the fuck you want to call yourself, just the idea that you're a thing, just the idea that I'm in the same time on this earth, I'm sharing the same period, the same moment in history as you makes my fucking skin crawl. May every effort you try and have a good match and try and be memorable and try and be that performer come back and stab you in the heart like a knife, reminding you of your never-ending fucking mediocrity. You are the man that will have gone on and like done all this stuff, but at the end of the day, we're like, why'd they push him? You're never going to be in the same league as an Angle, a Riddle, or a Lesnar. No, the conversations in the halls that you belong in are with the great Khali's. You're an abomination. You're an insult to the industry that I and everybody gathered here loves. And you know what? I wish you would have gone to like Bellator or done something else, because I wouldn't say that'd be a better use of your talents because you have to have talent to begin with, but you wouldn't have been an eyesore to my vision, which categorically is superior and far more important than your entire fucking being. Kindly go fuck yourself, me. That's my rant for you. Thank you, good sir. But I guess we can move on to our next question.
Our next question is from Jason McGlade, aka Caltag Star 96. What are your thoughts on the view that if you can't wrestle, you can't criticize wrestling?
I feel like I've kind of answered this in other questions, which isn't, I mean, Caltech Star's fault, obviously. It's just if he went back and heard this, he'd know, like, okay, that's what he thinks. I think it's ridiculous. Because here's the thing. Whether you're a craftsman or a specialist or an aficionado, whatever term you want to use, in any art or discipline, I'm a firm believer that aesthetic sensibilities, evaluating art, just having aesthetic taste is fundamental to the human experience. I've never been adept at any musical instrument, and God knows I can't sing for a fucking lick, but I know I don't like country music. I know I don't like there are exceptions to every rule, most mainstream pop that like passes. I don't care for it. But have I ever gone on tour? Have I ever sang with anybody worth their salt? No. But I just know as a human being that something is hardwired in me. And to be perfectly honest, and I'm saying this unironically, there's probably an evolutionary account for it somewhere. It probably goes on like a biological level. We're all hardwired, I think, to have a sense of aesthetic appreciation. Wrestling to me, because I've never said it was a sport, and even if it was a sport, I still think there's an aesthetic quality to it. There's an aesthetic quality to everything. And if you're telling me that I can't evaluate that, if you're telling me that I can't judge that, then really, and I'm not being hyperbolic, I mean, following from my arguments, this is just the final claim. If you're telling me I can't do that, then you're telling me that I'm subhuman, that I'm not a fully realized human being if I can't do that. And that to me is more insulting than any evaluation I can pass down on you, your shitty movie, wrestling product, whatever it is. So get over yourself and realize that we're all going to possess aesthetic tastes, and they don't have to agree with you for you to survive. You're going to be okay. I promise. So that's my answer to that.
Okay. I appreciate your answer, and I definitely agree with pretty much everything that you just said. But what I want to come out here and really drive home is that when Gregory Helms got on Twitter and said about how, people that have never worked in this business telling people who are in this business how to do certain things pisses him off. I don't think that he's saying that unless you're a chef, you can't know that a shit sandwich isn't going to taste good. I think he's really saying is that you can have opinions and you can voice your opinions, But when you start trying to tell people how to change things to be better, that's where the problem comes into play, because you're not telling them how to change things to be better. You're telling them how to change things to more appeal to you. It's a
Yeah.
subjective thing.
Yes.
You can have an opinion. You can think Liv Morgan sucks. You can think Brie Bella sucks. You can think Alexa Bliss sucks. You can think, for all I know, you can think Io Shirai sucks. And there's nothing that other people are going to say or do to change that opinion. The problem is when you start going to those people that you think suck and telling them how to do their jobs and telling them how to get better. Because when it comes to them getting better, that's on them, that's on their peers and their superiors and their bosses to tell them how to do. You don't know how to tell them to get better because you don't know how they got where they are in the first place. You don't know how to tell them to get better because at the end of the day, you aren't a wrestler, so you don't know what kind of work goes into what they do that you might not think they're good at in the first place. Maybe they are good at what they're doing and you just don't realize it because you don't like what they're doing. That is, it's entirely subjective. And I think that's the point that guys like Helms are trying to drive home is at the end of the day, if you don't like it, you are perfectly within reason to voice the opinion that you don't like something. The problem stems from telling people how to change something that you don't like to be something that you like, because they don't give a shit if one or two or a few hundred random people on Twitter like what they're doing. What they care about is that they are doing either A, what they want to do, or B, what they are told to do by the person actually paying them to put money on in their bank accounts so that they can put food on their family's tables. You know what I mean?
And you know what, Action, just like you did for me, your approach to the question, I agree with you 1,000%. I'm not going to touch it. So we can move on to, are we on Foster already?
We are on Foster. Yeah, we are on our last
questions. What
was that?
I said we kicked ass this time around.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So 4 questions from Foster, the last questions of this month's Q&A. First up, what will TWitWoW be like when you're both 100? Non-existent, because we'll probably both be dead.
Yeah, I ain't making it to 100. I'll probably die at like 84 or something. So I'm not making it. So yeah.
Nice. 84. You know what though? I think we can be we're good if we get another 60 years of this.
Yeah. Oh God, my bursitis.
Why was he even gonna do that? He was like, "What will TWitWoW be like when you're both 100?" I was really tempted to just be like, "Ladies and gentlemen."
Spitting my dentures out every other rant. Clouds.
Oh my God! This Copeland girl really needs to learn how to take a damn bump.
Please, every time I'd get up from my computer to after recording, I'd be taking bumps. Oh my God.
All right. Second question from Foster. William Regal has called you two into his office. He asks, what were you two doing when Aleister Black was attacked?
I was fantasizing about attacking Aleister Black, but somebody beat me to it.
I can literally just say, I watched the episode happen.
Yeah. Either that or I'd be like, well, I was teaching the Neanderthal known as Otis Dozovic moral philosophy when suddenly there was a bunch of riffraff going on in the parking lot. So, either the snooty...
Oh, God. So you're in full gimmick and everything.
Oh, yeah. I'd either be the snooty intellectual gimmick that I always tell you about, or I would just be me and I'd be like, well, Mr. Regal, to be honest, I really wanted to attack him. Like, the hate boner was ripe. And then I saw that somebody else did it, and I went totally flaccid and went home. So, I feel like our alibis are pretty airtight, though.
Yeah, totally. So, third question from Foster. Underrated members of current factions.
Underrated members of current factions? I feel like...
PJ Black.
PJ Black, yeah. I would agree with you on that. Undisputed Era, I almost want to say that Roderick's the underrated one because Kyle's really made a name for himself with his personality and everything. And
yeah, like if Kyle didn't have such like a almost like a cult like following, I would have said him, but he's already got like the following. So,
and I think it's really because of his stuff in NXT with the belt guitar and his because we live in this GIF and meme culture, Kyle has profited off of it obscenely with his facial expressions and stuff. I'd say Roderick's the underrated one, which is really a shame because I stand by that he's probably one of the most innovative modern performers that we have. Yeah, I agree with you about PJ. I don't want to go through all the factions, though, so I think we just stop it there and move on.
Absolutely. All right. Fourth and final question from Foster. Could you guys survive at Duel Academy?
No, and not even for the reasons you might think. I wouldn't survive, not just because I'm a shitty ass duelist, which I am. I even remember one time I dueled somebody and I lost like within 3 turns, and I just didn't give a fuck. So I kept drawing cards until I got the Blue Eyes White Dragon, because this is before he had to make sacrifices, and it was like near the bottom of the deck. It was pretty bad. I don't take losing well, apparently, but also because of the really shitty puns and stuff like that. Like I would kill myself. I would go into that river because I know Duel Academy has this huge body of water, and I would drown myself with my dual disc, and I wouldn't want to summon any monster to save me. So yeah, I could not do it because it's just awful. So
I'm curious, what exactly is Duel Academy? Would I be familiar with this, or is this something that's in a season of
So you never watched Yu-Gi-Oh! GX?
Yu-Gi-Oh! GX? Let's see.
With Jade and Yuki and like.
No, I did not. No.
Oh dear, I hate you. I finally have a reason to hate you because you missed this and I didn't. No, Duel Academy. It's like this whole concept where I'm not joking you here. You go to school to learn how to play duel monsters.
Oh, that would be amazing. I need that because I've forgotten how to play.
Don't you encourage this? What's wrong with you?
I haven't played Duel Monsters in years.
Oh my God, Ashton, why do you consistently find ways to disappoint me? Don't encourage this.
Oh man, I'm sorry.
No, no, you know what though? Because here's the thing, and I can't believe I'm saying this. I agree with you that the idea actually could have been pulled off, but the show is just like, dude, I know people claim that like Yu-Gi-Oh! With Tejas Peaches and stuff was like ham and really campy and shit. GX are those worst qualities of the original Yu-Gi-Oh! On fucking steroids. That's why I couldn't do it, because that's what I think Foster's really asking when he says do it. Like, that's just what comes to mind. I couldn't do it. The concept of learning dual monsters, because they had it in 3 hierarchies. Slifer Red was the lowest. Ra Yellow, surprisingly, was the middle, even though clearly in the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Show, Ra was the strongest Egyptian god card. And Obelisk Blue.
Well, no, I was definitely under the impression that Obelisk the Tormentor was the strongest Egyptian god.
Well, then you'd agree with this show, because Obelisk Blues are like the seniors of Duel Academy, and they're at like the top of the pecking order. So
yeah. So let me ask you a question. How difficult or simple is it to move up in ranks?
Oh my God, I can't believe I can almost even somewhat adequately answer your questions. I watched too much of that fucking show.
Was this show like immediately following the original Yu-Gi-Oh run?
I don't know about immediately. Maybe it had
like after the Dungeon Dice Monsters tangent.
I guess it's really hard. Like I can't really remember that. Wait, what?
I just don't remember anything. It's horrible.
No, it's cool, man. No, you're one of the lucky ones. I'd kill to have your brain.
I will say though, I mean, I know that this is completely and totally unrelated to Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, but I still do want us to watch Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 or Arc V, however it's.
If I'm watching it with you, I can tolerate it. I mean, you know, because we watched some good animated shows that we didn't really finish. What was that one animated show that I was really into, but you were kind of losing interest? Wasn't Transformers?
Oh, Voltron.
Voltron. Yeah, I need to rewatch that from the beginning and just do it. And you already said you're not going to do Dragon Prince, but I've been hearing cool things from my friends. Like they said, if you love Avatar, you need to check this out. So I may check that out.
I can tell you, I remember. I'm just looking on the Yu-Gi-Oh! Wikia, and I remember all the way up to the Virtual World arc, but I don't remember Paradius or Paradius. I don't know how that's pronounced. I don't remember Grand Championship. I don't remember Capsule Monsters.
Yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh! GX was its own separate series with Duel Academy. Like, it wasn't even Yu-Gi-Oh!
No, I know, but I'm saying, like, Yu-Gi-Oh! GX happened after all this stuff, didn't it?
Yeah, Hypothesis actually came in. He said 10 years after.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, I like the last thing that I remember from the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Series, and obviously I didn't watch any other Yu-Gi-Oh! Series after the original series, was the Virtual World arc.
You whimsical, lucky son of a bitch.
I'm sorry. I can't help it. I just fell off. It's not my fault.
Oh, it isn't, Ashton? So we all had to pick up your slack? No, I'm sorry. This isn't about you. Not entirely.
I mean, it's kind of about me.
It is kind of about you. But no, I guess Foster's right. Like if you beat a high ranking, like I'm assuming if you were like a Slifer Red and you beat an Obelisk Blue, like that you'd get a promotion to like Raw Yellow at least.
Oh, well, shit. Yeah, I could definitely survive then.
Well,
I'd be an Obelisk Blue Bleed, but within weeks.
Look at this motherfucker pumping his chest out.
Look, dude, growing up, I always had worse cards than my friends because I was the fucking poor one in the group, and I still whipped their asses with strategy.
You know what? As long as you would bring your dual disc made out of connects, because then you'd really have to show them how much of a boss you are. Like, no, I have my own original dual disc. Suck it, Kaima Corp.
Yes.
Dude, if you just promised me that you'd go full ham, I'd be totally cool with you staying at that academy.
Dude, absolutely. And I would want you by my side to be my Taya, too.
Oh my God! While face palming, get your game on, Ashton. Oh dear God, I signed up to listen to him duel people for like next 5 years. Next question.
It would be so good. That was the last one.
Oh, that was the last one. I thought Foster had more. We really
no. Foster's 4 questions were: what would TWitWoW be like in when you're both 100? Regal called you in his office. What about the black thing? Underrated members of current factions, and could you survive Duel Academy? So yeah.
Holy shit, we did it! Wow. All right. Great Q&A, guys. Next Q&A. I'm just gonna say very quickly. Let me see. Is October
it's the 31st, I believe.
October 25th, actually.
Oh, 25th. Wow. It's oh damn. Okay.
Yeah, October 25th. Yep. So Q&A number 28, guys. Get your questions via YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Discord, which I guess I'll have Ashton break down that half since he's doing the outro.
Oh yeah. Speaking of Discord, I have officially added a Q&A question channel to the TWitWoW Discord. So now, if you have questions and you want to ask them and you're in the Discord, you don't even have to DM either one of us. You can literally just ask the question in that channel of the Discord, and it makes it way less likely that either one of us will miss those questions then, because that'll be one of the places that we check every time we're looking for Q&A questions.
Right. And of course, guys, you know I'm going to set up a pinned tweet. This will be Q&A number 28 on October 25th. I can't believe we're only like after this, it's like 3 Q&As away, 28, 29, and then 30 for the big 3.
And the 30th one is going to be in December too. So that'll be the last one of the year, and it'll be the 30th one that we've done.
Damn.
Yeah.
I'm going to make that as soon as we get off from here so you guys can like post replies there. And
has James already asked you October questions, or is this like an outlier month?
An outlier month.
Wow.
That stupid son of a bitch. We finally got him. Yeah. So, guys, thank you so much for the excellent questions. This is really a breezy Q&A to me because it's only 9:38.
Easy, breezy, beautiful TWitWoW girl.
Oh, my God. So, you know what? On that high, I'm just going to hand it over to Ash to take us home. So, bud, do your stuff. Get your
God, I have been coughing just all night. You might not know it because I've been doing a good job of muting my mic most of the time, but it's been a brutal night for me. Okay. I mean, yeah, we have a whole like 15 people watching, but only 2 likes, and some motherfucker decided to thumbs us down. Who the fuck? Like the video to make up for that bullshit, and then, you know, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and click the bell icon to join the notification squad, all that fun stuff. Follow us on Twitter. My pinned tweet is the schedule, which I will have a new schedule up soon, I think. John's pinned tweet is obviously the Q&A that he was just talking about, so you can reply to that and ask your questions. Oh my God, Cliff. Oh, that was so good. You can also like our Facebook, and then if you're interested in supporting the channel, supporting us, you can do so by donating to our Patreon or buying our merch on Teespring. As far as the Patreon goes, it's, you know, you can donate any amount that you want, but if you would like to get into the Discord, the minimum there is $3 a month. And then it doesn't really matter how much more you donate than that. It will accumulate over time. So if you want to do $3 a month, that's fine. If you want to do 10 a month, that's fine. 5 a month. We have some people that do a little more than that. And that will then accumulate. And you kind of basically, once you start donating to the Patreon, you have sort of a TWitWoW patron account, which we keep track of using Patreon. And they keep track of the numbers. And then we keep track of how much of the money that you've donated over your lifetime you've already spent on requests. But that's kind of where I'm getting to, is you can then use that to request live reactions to wrestling shows of your choosing. We haven't fully gone for the old, if you double the payment, you can join us, but we'll definitely have to talk about that. And that might be a thing coming soon. Maybe that'll be a thing that we start having available as an option in 2019. I'm not sure. But until then, for now, you, by donating, as long as the total of donations between everybody on the Patreon hit the $120 mark every month, we will continue live reacting to SmackDown Live and 205 Live every week of every month. That's been a lot of fun. If it drops below 120 but stays above 80, we'll still do SmackDown, but we'll drop 205 Live off the docket. So that's 205 has been fun, and I know we have some like super fans that absolutely love 205 that really want us to keep reacting to that. So all you got to do is make sure that we stay above the 120 mark, and that won't be a problem. And of course, you also have the live reaction requests and all that fun stuff. So there are a lot of really big kind of positives to you guys donating to the Patreon. And then the positive for us is obviously that helps us to kind of sustain the channel financially and stuff like that. And then, of course, the best thing that you can do for us as far as just helping us kind of grow is to share this channel and share this video. Really, maybe not even necessarily this video, because this isn't necessarily the best first video for a new fan to see, but share our videos in the channel with people that like wrestling and might be interested in hearing our analysis on their wrestling shows that they like to watch. So you can share it. And, we like to call ourselves the best kept secret, because we really do think that our product is among the best out there, but we are not necessarily as popular as some of the really big YouTubers. And we also call ourselves the workhorses because of the ridiculous amount of content that we give you guys. Just this week, we've probably given you like almost 20 hours worth of content. It's pretty crazy, actually. And then, so we appreciate when you guys share the videos in the channel, and we will see you guys, I'm going to say Sunday, for the Long Beach show, the New Japan Long Beach show. That's going to be on Sunday. And I think it's Sunday. You know what? Let me actually pull up the schedule to see if that's Sunday or Saturday. I'm pretty sure it's Sunday, but I do want to check just to make sure. TWitWoW schedule. I actually have a spreadsheet for the TWitWoW schedule nowadays. So New Japan Fighting Spirit Unleashed is Sunday the 30th, and we're going to be doing that live at 8 p.m. Eastern time, because that will be going live at 5 p.m. Pacific time, because they're in California. So that'll be a lot of fun. And on that show, we are going to be getting, I want to say, no, never mind. Yeah, I was going to say Omega Ishii, but that shit already happened. So I don't even know what the card is. I'm not going to bother looking. It's just, we'll react to it, and hopefully it's a fun show. I know we're going to be getting Ishii and I want to say Okada teaming up. And again, I don't remember who they're taking on. So it's just it's the Golden Lovers. They're taking on the Golden Lovers. That's right. So that should be fun. Guys. So that's like the big thing coming up. And then everything else next week is just the stuff that we've been doing. But next Tuesday, we will be live reacting to Progress Chapter 76. That should be fun. Progress on Tuesdays is back just for 1 week. And then we've got, SmackDown, 205 Lucha, NYC, NXT Lucha, all that fun stuff next week as well. So that's all coming up. Whatever you really want to watch, though, you decide what to show up for, and we will hopefully entertain you. Remember to like the video. And until then, of course, remember to stay tuned.